Yo, what's going on, fam? Oh man, it's your boy back, man, with another video. Oh, as usual, just want to give all thanks and praise to the Most High, for the opportunity to come and build, commune once again with the fam. Hope everybody out there doing good, man. Hope everybody out there having a blessed day. Oh man, so coming out with this video, I think it's much needed. It just really kind of dropped on me, right after the last video, and so this video is going to piggyback off the last video. So if you haven't seen my last video, the Tribal Gathering of Lebanon, I suggest you catch that before you watch this. You know what I'm saying? It'll probably do you more better. You know what I'm saying? It'll do you more better. So with that being said, man, like I said, I just want to come to y'all with this video. It's going to piggyback off the last one. And deal with some things that I think is very important topics that need to be touched on. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm not finna debate with nobody. I'm not finna argue. I'm just finna present some things, and I just want y'all to look into it and you know what I'm saying? And hopefully, as I explain, you know what I'm saying, you get a better idea where I'm coming from. I'm not trying to push no beliefs or no type of doctrine or anything like that on anybody, or tell somebody what they can or can't do. I'm just simply, providing logical and reasonable perspectives and information that I feel need to be considered. So without further ado, you know what I'm saying, let's go ahead and jump into the information. Give all thanks and praise for the day, you know what I'm saying, and for the information. Let's ride. Fair use, fair use, fair use. Okay, fam. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This video is comprised mostly of videos. They're gonna be smooth videos. They're gonna play good for you. Maybe the first clip, you gotta bear with me. I think I'm gonna play like a minute of this first clip. I might do a little bit of skipping, but other than that, man, everything gonna go smooth. You know what I'm saying? Lord willing. So I asked y'all to rock with me on that, so I hope y'all enjoy this one. So we're gonna so remember from the last video we was talking about these sins, right? We was talking about the Zadokite priesthood, and certain things. So I just wanted to come right here and just get that, that we're talking about these sins, right? Who scholars claim to see from the Zadokite priesthood. Alright. So now remember this article I have pulled up, right? This ebook. An introduction to the complete Dead Sea Scrolls. So we're gonna read this because this is gonna be our main topic and focus today. So it's an introduction to the complete Dead Sea Scrolls, right? All right. The second issue has nothing to do with the sex attitude towards the temple and temple sacrifice. While some Essenes, notwithstanding their vow to total fidelity to the law of Moses, rejected the validity of the sanctuary and refused to participate temporarily in its rites. Okay, sources cited here. It said they evaded the theological dilemma in which this stand might have placed them by contending that until the rededication of the temple, check this out now, that until the rededication of the temple, the only true worship of God was to be offered in their establishment. Bam, check that out. Remember, we talking about these Essenes, right? These Essenes are the who? The Zadokite priests. Remember, the Zadokite priests we was getting out of Ezekiel are the only priests who can minister unto God in the restoration of Jerusalem, right? In the courts of New Jerusalem. So these priests are the only priests that can administer the true interpretations of the law. You feel what I'm saying? And be the executive branch of government, the writers and the enforcers of the law of God's kingdom. So it's very important to that we listen and understand what these folks say. You know what I'm saying? With these group of brothers have separated themselves and written unto us. So continuing on, right? So the only true worship, the only true law administration of God was to be offered in their establishment. The council of the community was to be the most high dwelling for Aaron, where without the flesh of holocaust and the fat of sacrifice, a sweet fragrance was to be sent up to God, and where prayer was to serve as an acceptable fragrance of righteousness. Bam. All right, so that's what we're gonna deal with right there today. Now remember, so even right here it says that the council of this particular community was to be the most holy dwelling for Aaron. Aaron the priest, right? These are the same priests who was over all the blood and the animal sacrifices that you read about in the King James version in the New Testament. Excuse me, in the King James Bible, right, in the Old Testament, in Leviticus and things like that. So what this is saying here is that the council of this community was to be the most holy dwelling for Aaron, where without the flesh of Holocaust, right, that Holocaust, burning all that flesh, you feel what I'm saying, and the fat of sacrifice, a sweet fragrance was to be sent up to God, and where prayer was to serve as an acceptable fragrance of righteousness, right? Because remember I said the priest was dealing with the herbs, right? They're dealing with the herbs of the field, you know what I'm saying? So now check out what this next sentence says, because this is very important too, but we're going to touch on this a little later. It said the community itself was to be the sacrifice offered to God in atonement for Israel's sin. Now this is stupid drop right here, but we're going to, you know what I'm saying, we're going to work our way, you know what I'm saying, into it. Okay, just to you know what I'm saying, bring this back to refresh your memory while we were even looking at this document, because remember it was telling us that the community rule, right, that these priests had set up on how to orchestrate a true camp and separation, right, and separation from Babylon and wickedness, how to set up the true camp and order and divine audience, and you know what I'm saying, in accordance with the Most High, things like that. They called themselves Lebanon, right, because essentially, let's just jump down to get it. It said that Lebanon equals the temple. It said temple equals the council of the community. And Lebanon equals the council of the community, right? So, and just as when I had showed this article right here, in the Nazarene way, it told us what? That the Essenes, who called themselves Lebanon, right, which means white, because they habitually wore sparkling white robes of fine linen, right? So they called themselves Lebanon. Now, even when you go up, hold on. Okay, so when you scroll up a little bit, at this section right here, check out what it says. It says there's a portion of those people called Essenes, right here. It says, in number somewhat more than 4,000 in my opinion, who derive their name from their piety, though not according to any accurate form of the Greek dialect, because they were, it says, because they are above all men devoted to the service of God, okay? Not sacrificing living animals, but studying rather to preserve their own minds in a state of holiness and purity. Now that's very important. That's a very important statement too, especially since we're dealing with you know, the opposing side of sacrificing living animals, right? We're talking about like herbal sacrifice and things like that. And on the contrary to that, in this particular statement, it said, but studying rather to preserve their own minds in a state of holiness and purity. So think about that right there. To preserve their mind, you know what I'm saying, in a state of holiness and purity. Alright, so when we come over here, we look at the North American territory and area, the area of North America, and we were looking at all these Lebanons, and you know, you got Aztlan, which literally means whiteness, just as Lebanon does. You know, you got all these cedar forests, cedar trees, right? This area of a wilderness, and indigenous encampment, right? So we was talking about this particular area a lot in my video, the tribal gathering of Lebanon, right? So looking at this this area right here of Lebanon, and how it seems to be a place where the Israelites would go and separate themselves amongst these sacred trees in this sacred land, and kind of reconnect themselves with their Creator, and, you know, purify themselves. See, that's what it's all about when you're dealing with separation. You know, you're dealing with purifying yourself, like detoxing yourself, you know what I'm saying, cleaning yourself. So it seemed like it was an area in which they go to do a lot of those things before they would make conquest back into their I guess their allotted inheritances. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, I just want to play a few clips. And we just gonna see what what the Great Spirit had given these particular indigenous people in this area, right? In place of sacrifice. You know, when dealing with sacrifice, I just want to show y'all what these Indians and what these indigenous people of this territory was dealing with. You know what I'm saying? So first, I want to bring you guys over here to this clip. Okay, this is Wayne May, Book of Mormon Archaeology in North America. Some very interesting things are being said. Play like a clip, like a one and a half minute clip or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's not gonna be too long. This is the one that might skip on me a little bit, so just bear with me. You know what I'm saying, if it does. But I just want to get into this clip. So yeah, enjoy.
'51. Anybody ever seen this before? I didn't think so. One guy. Good for you. All right. Amazing what's out there when you go looking. All right, let's press on. What do you think that is? The menorah, isn't it? Archaeologists will write this off as a fancy pitchfork. This is sacred to the Potawatomis, and it's in their sacred cave. I'm lucky to even have a photograph of it. Elders, Frank Kennedy, a Seneca elder from New York, says that long ago in New York State there was a major confrontation between his people and another people of lighter skin. They fought over who would control God. These other people lost. We won the fight. Dr. Shares of UW-Madison asked him, why was the fight so important? Fred said it involved the Wapanu. The Wapanu is our priesthood. These men could go among all the tribes to act as arbitrators, messengers, and spiritual leaders among our many people. The Wapanu had their beginning when East Star Man appeared. He set up new laws, healed the sick, ended blood sacrifice. Now we use tobacco in place of blood to offer. Important. Fred said it involved the Wapanu. The Wapanu is our priesthood. These men could go among all the tribes to act as arbitrators, messengers, and spiritual leaders among our many people. The Wapanu had their beginning when East Star Man appeared. He set up new laws, healed the sick, ended blood sacrifice. Now we use tobacco in place of blood to offer sacrifice.
Yeah, so you heard the man. Nah, but for real though, man, so very interesting, right? And so he's talking about this Wapanu. Now doesn't this Wapanu sound just like the Levitical priesthood, right? He said the Wapanu is our priesthood, right? These men could go among all the tribes to act as arbitrators, messengers, and spiritual leaders among our many people, just like the Levites, right? Then he said the Wapanu had their beginning when the East Star Man appeared. He set up new laws, healed the sick, and ended blood sacrifice. Now we use tobacco in place to offer sacrifice. Very interesting, right? You know what I'm saying? So here we have this Star Man of this priesthood coming and setting up new laws, healing the sick, and ending blood sacrifice. And now they use tobacco as a place of the sacrifice, right? As a place of, they use a herb in place of blood to offer sacrifice. Now, even when you understand Christ, right, from the New Testament, and I want something to be understood real quick, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm from the South. You feel me? The real South. You know what I'm saying? The Bible Belt. I'm from the Bible Belt. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it's just in my blood. You know what I'm saying? So when you hear me talking about Christ and the New Testament, understand, you know, I just come from that background. So it's still in my blood. I still, you know what I'm saying? It's still in my language. I still can spit it. You know what I'm saying? Because I understand most parts of it. I'm just not, you know, shallow-minded like a lot of these people. And just, you know, just when they find, you know, they're just ready to do away with something. And, you know, even though, you know what I'm saying, I may show you how Christianity establishes pagan sovereignty. You know what I'm saying? There's still certain things that can be understood. You know what I'm saying? Like certain, because Christ wasn't a sin. Jesus wasn't a sin. The so-called Messiah wasn't a sin. You can find all kind of information on that. So, you know what I'm saying? He was living by the Essene way. So his followers are not. So, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I mean, what's going on? You feel me? So, I just wanted to say that, but just speaking on how, this East Star man would come in, right? He would, be a part of this priesthood, and he would come in and set up new laws. He would heal the sick, and he would implement, herbs in the place of blood to offer sacrifice. Now, remember in the last, video, we were reading from the fragments of the Zadokite work, right, the Damascus document, what these priests had separated themselves and went to Damascus and had them written. Now, when it talks about the East Star man, that's very funny because there's one section right here called the foundation of the Zadokite party, right, the Essenes, an expectation, the law, the prophets, and the Messiah. Now, check this out. It says, when the two houses of Israel separated, Ephraim departed from Judah, and all who proved faithless were delivered to the sword, and all those who held fast escaped into the land of the north. Bam! The land of the north, right? Damascus, Lebanon. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, he said, as he said, and I will cause to go into captivity Sikkuth your king, and chewing your images, the star of your God. Now, pay attention because it's kind of interesting right here. It say, the star of your God, which you made for yourselves beyond Damascus. Okay, the books of the law are the tabernacle of the king. And he said, and I will raise up the tabernacle of David that is fallen. The king is the congregation, and chewing the images are the books of the prophets, all right, whose words Israel has despised. Now check this out. And the star is he who studied the law, who came to Damascus, as it is written, there shall come forth a star out of Jacob, and a scepter shall rise out of Israel. The scepter is the prince of all the congregation, right? So here you got this star, right? This star is he who studied the law. The star, he who studied the law, is also a lawgiver, right? When you scroll to this other section right here, let's see if we can get the full title. When the land was laid desolate, God will rise up wise men who restudy the law and go in exile to Damascus. And according to its precepts, the repentant one shall walk till the teacher of righteousness rose. All right, so I'm gonna jump down a little bit to right here. It says, a well, he says, and he made them to hearken, and they digged the well, and a well the princes digged. The nobles of the people delved it by the order of the lawgiver, right? The well is the law, and they who digged it are the penitents of Israel, who went forth out of the land of Judah and sojourned to the land of Damascus, right, aka the land of the north, all of whom God called princes. For they sought him in his glory, and was not turned back in the mouth of one of them. And the lawgiver, right, and the lawgiver is he who studies the law. Okay, bam. So the lawgiver, you know what I'm saying, is he who studies the law. So when you come back over here and it says, and the star is he who studied the law and who came to Damascus, that's the lawgiver, right? So this star, talked about in the Zadokite writings, is a lawgiver, right, who come to establish new law, just like the clip said, what? That the East Star man appeared, he set up new laws, he healed the sick, ended blood sacrifice. Now we use a herb, right, tobacco, in the place of blood to offer sacrifice. So I find that very interesting. Alright, so yeah, man, and also too, man, I just want to give thanks, man, to the sister, man, who actually showed me that video, because she was like, she wanted me to watch the video, and everything. So I checked it out, and I just caught that little piece, man. I just thought that was very funny, man. And it's just crazy how it just be linking up, you know what I'm saying? The pieces just be falling to your lap like that, you know what I'm saying? And I just thought I had to share that with the fam. So I'm gonna bring you guys back over here to the map of the United States. You know what I'm saying? And how we were looking at these aboriginals who would come into these areas of whiteness, right, to purify themselves and reconnect with their creator in a more divine manner, right? So like I said, I wanted to show you what the creator, what the divine great spirit, how he communed with these aboriginals in this land, and what type of utensils or instruments he used to do it. So I just want to bring you guys over here to this clip, the Calumet, the Pipe of Peace, and we're gonna get into this documentary. It should run smoothly. So enjoy. I'll holler at y'all in a little bit. Pay attention.
Since remotest antiquity, man has tried to speak to his gods through symbols. One could place a gift before an altar, a sacred object, the dwelling place of any of the nearby deities. But how might one reach aloft to the heavens, to the distant gods of the moon, the stars, and the sun? In the Western Hemisphere, long before the arrival of the white man, smoke from burning herbs ascended to the heavens, carrying with it the prayers and the desires of the Indian. Long before the arrival of the white man, smoke from burning herbs ascended to the heavens, carrying with it the prayers and the desires of the Indian. What he could not touch with his hand, he sought to reach with incense, and the smoke itself was believed to have mystical powers of protection and healing. The ceremonial altars in which tobacco and certain other herbs were burned took many forms. The most primitive container was probably a simple concave stone, or a depression in the ground made by removing the turf so that the virgin soil was exposed. Incense was also formed by puffing on hollow tubes filled with burning tobacco. At some point in time, now lost to history, a hollow shaft and a stone bowl were fitted together to form a simple pipe. The importance of the pipe in the ritual life of the Indian is revealed in the legends handed down from generation to generation, as in this Plains Indian story about the origin of the first pipe.
One day, as two men were hunting on the prairie, a beautiful woman dressed in white buckskin appeared before them and said she had come to talk to their chief, Standing Hollowhorn. When all the people had gathered in a great lodge, the sacred woman entered, walked sunwise around the lodge, and stood before the chief. Holding up a bundle, she told him she bore a gift from the Great Spirit. Then, as all eyes watched her, she untied the bundle and drew forth a magnificent pipe. Its bowl was of red stone and symbolized their mother, the earth. Carved in the stone was a buffalo calf, which stood for all of the four-legged animals who lived upon the earth. The wooden stem represented all that grew on the earth, and the 12 hanging feathers, the winged things in the skies. The woman warned Standing Hollowhorn to treasure this sacred gift because it stood for all the people and all the things in the universe. Each of their voices would join his when he offered up incense to the Great Spirit, and with this pipe his people would prosper. Then, each of their voices would join his when he offered up incense to the Great Spirit, and with this pipe his people would prosper. Then, walking sunwise around the fire, she left. But after going a short distance, the woman looked back and sat down. And when she stood up, a cry of surprise was heard, for she had turned into a red and brown buffalo calf. The calf walked farther away, rolled over, and stared at the people. When it stood up, it became a white buffalo. Walking off toward the horizon, it again lay down and arose, this time all black in color. Then, bowing to each of the four corners of the universe, the buffalo disappeared beyond a hill. In color. Then, bowing to each of the four corners of the universe, the buffalo disappeared beyond a hill.
From this mythical beginning, smoking was to spread to the far corners of the earth. But unlike those who later adopted the custom, the Aboriginal American never smoked for his own personal pleasure. But unlike those who later adopted the custom, the Aboriginal American never smoked for his own personal pleasure. The Aboriginal American never smoked for his own personal pleasure. Of the many types of pipes made by the Indian, none was more sacred than the calumet. Carefully fashioned after that first legendary pipe, it played an important role in many community functions. It was used to bring needed rain or favorable weather for a journey. It gave safe conduct to travelers. It served to formalize agreements, to placate hostile tribes, and to conclude a lasting peace. The word calumet is Norman French for tube or flute, particularly a shepherd's pipe. It originally referred to a highly symbolic reed shaft through which the life spirit of man was said to pass. When the French explorers first saw the ornate wooden pipe stems in America, they used this same term to describe the Indians' ceremonial pipe. In smoking the calumet together, the parties to a pact invoked the sun and the other major deities as witnesses, and the pact could not be violated without incurring the wrath of the gods. The parties to a pact invoked the sun and the other major deities as witnesses, and the pact could not be violated without incurring the wrath of the gods. The most prized of the calumets had bowls of soft red stone found only in a few parts of the north-central United States. More than a century ago, the American painter George Catlin visited the Great Quarry in Minnesota. The mineral was later named Catlinite, after the artist who had spent so many years among the Indians. His impression of the area was recorded on a page in his sketchbook. In 1840, nearly 6,000 tribesmen were said to have been camped around the quarry, and Longfellow would later write of this place in Hiawatha, telling how the Great Spirit instructed his people to make the first peace pipe. Now a small telling how the Great Spirit instructed his people to make the first peace pipe. Now a small national monument of 283 acres, it stands apart from the surrounding countryside, guarded by the spirits of 3 young women said to have been buried beneath the great boulders which mark the quarry entrance. Before Catlinite could be removed from this hallowed ground, a sacrifice of tobacco had to be made to the 3 maidens. That tradition is still followed by Indians who come in quest of the stone. Men of the Sioux, the Mandan, and the Blackfoot, the Ojibwe, the Ponca, and others. For 300 years and more, Indians of the plains have stood before these boulders and sought permission to enter. Even at the most accessible points, the red pipestone is buried beneath a layer of quartzite 5 to 8 feet thick. To reach the catlinite, this protective rock must be penetrated. In the past, this was sometimes done by building bonfires atop the quartzite ledge and then dashing cold water on the heated stones. The fractured rocks would then be broken away with stone mauls or shattered by other methods. In spite of the passage of time, many of the old ways remain. Originally, the pipestone was a clay-like substance, sandwiched between massive layers of sandstone. The great weight of the overlying rock, accompanied by the heat and the chemical action, slowly altered the composition of the minerals, fusing the sandstone into quartzite and the clay into a layer of red steatite less than a foot thick. As the surface of the earth shifted, cracks opened in the quartzite, and it was here, in these fissures, that the Indian's eye first fell upon the material he would fashion into his incense altar. The catlinite slabs were prized. His eye first fell upon the material he would fashion into his incense altar. The catlinite slabs were pried loose from the rock bed, lifted to the surface, and examined for flaws. Then, in a pattern little changed with the passage of time, an ancient and arduous process began. Even before the advent of the pipe, tobacco served in many ways as a link with the spirit world. It was the principal medium through which the priests and medicine men received their inspiration. Among other things, powdered tobacco leaves were used in the treatment of headache, lockjaw, obstructions of the kidney, diseases of the heart, and poisoning from arrows or snake bites. Offerings of tobacco in a dry state appear to have been made mostly to inanimate objects near at hand, to caves or mountains, to odd-shaped rocks or tree trunks. Anything that excited the curiosity or superstition of the Indian might be the dwelling place of a spirit. It is believed that most such sacrifices related to the Indian's worldly success rather than his future life. They were made not as an atonement for sin, but rather to obtain some advantage over others, or to avert the anger of the spirits. Dry tobacco would be sprinkled on the earth before crops were planted. It might be cast upon the grave mound of one who now lived among the spirits, or be sent as a token of friendship to a person in another tribe. In contrast to the dry tobacco sacrifice, burning leaves had an other-world quality. The smoke was real, yet intangible, something that could be seen, but which was not really there at all. Smoke from the incense altar became a symbol of the supernatural, an embodiment of the spirits vested with many of their powers. When a member of the Hidatsa tribe was suffering from a pain, he simply placed his pipe upon the afflicted region and puffed on it vigorously. In that way he believed he could extract the disease from his body. When he blew the smoke from his mouth, he would try to catch it with his hands and throw it into the fire so that it couldn't contaminate anyone else with the illness. As the Indian closed his eyes and filled his lungs with smoke, the fumes of the smoldering tobacco would sometimes overpower the senses and render the smoker unconscious. The human and the spirit world would then merge into one. It was in that state that many Indians received visions and had dreams which bore messages from the gods. As the Indian closed his eyes and filled his lungs with smoke, the fumes of the smoldering tobacco would sometimes overpower the senses and render the smoker unconscious. The human and the spirit world would then merge into one. It was in that state that many Indians received visions and had dreams which bore messages from the gods. For centuries, access to the few available deposits was unhampered. Craftsmen of many tribes traveled as much as 1,000 miles from their homes in neighboring territory to mine material for their altars. The quarry was regarded as common property, and even the bitterest of enemies abstained from hostilities while they camped within these grounds. But by the mid-19th century, this age-old pattern had changed. The Dakota Sioux proclaimed the site to be exclusively theirs, and at one time a part of the region was set aside for their use when they ceded other lands in the vicinity. Between 1865 and 6, white men of the Northwestern Fur Company also worked this quarry and made over 2,000 pipes, which were traded to tribes in the southeast and the far west. Today, Indians from all parts of the country may come here, but removal of the stone by white men is prohibited. When first quarried, catlinite is relatively soft and easily worked, though it hardens with exposure to the atmosphere. As seen here, the outside of the pipe bowl required little in the way of specialized tools. The relatively soft catlinite was easily scraped away with quartzite saw blades, or worn down by the hard surfaces of the grinding stones. But the drilling of the bowl cavities demanded the greatest of skill and patience on the part of the pipe maker. For this, a different set of stone tools was required. The first was generally made of chert, very slim, expanded at the base so as to serve as a flat handle. A second drill of greater diameter was used to enlarge the opening. Finally, a hafted drill left the hole circular and smooth. When the proper depth was attained, the entire task had to be repeated, this time in the bowl section of the pipe. In some pipes of stone or pottery, 6 or 8 stem holes might be made in a single bowl. In that way, a number of the tribe's headmen could share in the smoking simultaneously, each puffing on the common bowl with his own private pipe stem. As the drilling progressed, frequent measurements were made, since the 2 holes had to meet at precisely the right point in the elbow. An error in judgment here could mean the loss of an entire day's work. Finally, the telltale puff of dust. The L-shaped tunnel is completed. The drilling has been done well, and the pipe will now draw freely. The final touch, a distinguishing mark of the catlinite pipe bowl. When dressed with a coating of buffalo tallow, the bowls took on a strikingly different appearance. But for all of their brilliance, these catlinite bowls were no more resplendent than the pipe stems accompanying them. From 2 to 5 feet in length, the sanctity of the pipe lay as much in its wooden stem as in the bowl itself. In fact, for certain purposes, the stem alone was used. Covered with elaborate wrappings, decked with eagle feathers, paint, and cords of braided porcupine quills, the ornaments represented some of the objects which had symbolic meaning in the ritual. The Plains tribes often bound to the stem several woodpecker heads with the beaks turned back upon their red crests. When the woodpecker was angry, its red crest always rose, and this binding of the beak upon the crest symbolized the suppression of anger. When a tribe was at war, the sinew bindings were cut, allowing the crests of the birds to rise from the pipe stem. When not in use, the bowl was carefully wrapped and placed inside a pipe bundle, while the ornate stem was usually tied to the outside of the bundle. The limb from which a stem would be made was cut from a sapling, usually of ash. It was then heated over a fire, straightened, and cut to the required length. With some tribes, this distance was carefully measured off as 4 times the span between the thumb and the longest finger. The limb was then split down the middle, and the exposed pith scraped out of the center to form a channel through which the smoke might pass. At one time, the tradition of some tribes dictated that even the inside surfaces of the branch be ceremonially painted. With the exception of the groove itself, one half would be made a sky blue color, and the other half a verdant green of the earth. Then, as a prayer was intoned, asking that life be breathed into this sacred object, the chief priest would paint the grooves red to typify the passageways of the body through which the breath of man comes and departs. When the two halves were glued together again, they symbolized the path of man's life surrounded by the spirits of heaven and earth. But the split stem seen being assembled here was not always satisfactory. With age, the halves sometimes warped and separated. The characteristic flat shape of the finished stem may have evolved in an effort to provide a broader gluing surface where the halves of the stem were joined together. Later, when metal became available, a heated wire was used to burn a channel down the center of the stem without ever splitting it. But even before that time, some ingenious tribes devised their own answer to the problem. They would find a wood-boring grub, which they placed in one end of the limb. They then heated that portion over a fire. Following a path of least resistance, the grub would eat its way up through the soft pith in the center, leaving behind it a hole from one end of the limb to the other. Before a pipe could be used in any ceremony, it had to be consecrated. Wrapped in fresh sage, it was placed before an elder, whose task it was to prepare the altar for the sacred role it would be called upon to play. Filling the first pipeful of tobacco was a delicate operation. A man was forbidden to pack the tobacco down with his fingers, lest the gods take his life in the belief that he was offering himself along with the tobacco as a sacrifice. The first pipe was therefore frequently tamped with a broken arrow captured from an enemy warrior. The solemn rite being performed by this Sioux priest had its origin generations ago. Yet, in essence, its meaning is strangely similar to prayers heard elsewhere in other tongues. Expressions of gratitude to the sun because it gave them light, to the moon because she was believed to influence vegetation, to the earth because it gave them support, to the fire because of its benefit in cooking, to the evil spirits to appease their anger, and to the good spirits for providing all things needed in this lifetime. It is difficult now to realize that this predecessor of the modern pipe once represented a significant advance in the religious development of the American Indian. Yet the Indian's calumet was such a milestone. For the earliest inhabitants of this continent, tobacco was a plant of divine origin. Its transformation into incense provided a path along which prayers might find their way to the beings beyond, a visible messenger to the invisible, to the unseen forces that would shape their destiny and dictate their actions.
Bathe now in the stream before you. Wash the war paint from your faces. Wash the blood stains from your fingers, and bury your war cloth. Wash the war paint from your faces. Wash the blood stains from your fingers, and bury your war cloth and your weapons. Break the red stones from this quarry. Mold and make it into peace pipes. Take the leaves that grow beside you. Deck them with your brightest feathers. Smoke the calumet together, and as brothers live henceforward.
In the centuries that separate modern man from his forebears, there is much that he has forgotten.
Okay, yeah, man. So hope you guys enjoyed that. But yeah, man, I just wanted to bring that video, that documentary to you. And also I find it interesting that the channel that uploaded this documentary is called Atslan, and we know Atslan means what? It means whiteness, just like Lebanon means whiteness. So I find that, very crazy. But man, like I said, though, man, we just want to give all thanks and praise for this information. And just seeing how the great divine spirit was dealing with these particular aboriginals of this area, right, of this Lebanon Atslan area, you know what I'm saying? And how he wasn't dealing with them with animal sacrifice. Excuse me. He wasn't giving them religious rights based upon animal sacrifice. He was giving them religious rights on herbal sacrifice and how to create the herbal altar, right, the peace pipe, and how sacred this thing was, man. It wasn't just something that people were just just smoking for their habitual pleasure, as I kept playing that part over and over, because I wanted that to be stressed. I wanted that to be understood, man. This is really a sacred, is a priestly relic. You know what I'm saying? It's not something that you take out of moderation and you just continually and develop bad habits using. It's something that it's very sacred. You know what I'm saying? This peace pipe had the ability to start or stop wars. You know what I'm saying? And even enemies wouldn't even try to war at the site in which they would quarry the stone for the pipe. So I feel like that's very powerful. That's very sacred, and that we can tap into that energy and understanding and that knowledge and that utilization of the altar of incense and the sitting in the smoke of the prayers. I feel like that would be very vital in our movement towards redemption and purification and righteousness. So with that being said, I want to play another clip for y'all. Just this clip right here is going to be like 1 or 2 minutes, but I want it's basically this dude is going to be introducing this buffalo story, but I want you to hear what he says before he introduces it. Okay, so this clip is coming from One World in Concert, Wisdom Keepers, Transmission and Ceremonies, Lakota Elders documentary. So, very interesting stuff here, but the elder is going to take us on, the story of the white buffalo calf woman, or however you say it, and how they first received the peace pipe and certain sacred things in their tribe and a lot of other stuff. But I just want to focus on what the narrator says about, when he's introducing this story, because it's very important, I feel like, and it's very on point, especially when we're talking about this area of these aboriginals and how this area seems to be a spot where they will come and reconnect themselves with more divine and sacred laws that will connect them to their creator. I just want to play you like 1 minute of this right here. It might skip a little bit, but just bear with me. Yeah, but peace and love.
Explain that the white buffalo calf woman is called a creation story because it offers a situation by which we can begin again. This ancient story is contemporized by every generation, reestablishing in each age standards of conduct in maintaining order among men in accordance with divine law. Trial. The Lakota explained that the white buffalo calf woman is called a creation story because it offers a situation by which we can begin again. This ancient story is contemporized by every generation, reestablishing in each age standards of conduct in maintaining order among men in accordance with divine law.
Alright, so yeah, man, the narrator said a mouthful in just a few words. You know what I'm saying? Very deep, especially based upon what we've been looking at. It's like three interesting things he said, right? One being that this white buffalo calf woman story about the first peace pipe, or the presenting of the peace pipe from the Great Spirit and this sacred woman, and how this story was a creation story, because it gave them what do you say, the opportunity to begin again, right? Which we're dealing with, what? Renewal, right? A purification, a representing of oneself, you know what I'm saying? So I find that very interesting, as well as he said each generation dealing with a standard of excellence, a standard of conduct. How each generation, hold on, okay, excuse me, he said in each generation reestablishing themselves in a standard of conduct, right? And then he also said to maintain order, keeping order in accordance with divine law, right? So that's a lot of drop, especially when we looking at, you know what I'm saying, these aboriginals, right, in the wilderness of this land, which we find to have a great association with Lebanon, Atslan, right, a place of whiteness, right? So remember when we was in Ezekiel 20, right, and we was reading about the redemption of Israel, or what we would call the restoration, right, when he will restore Israel. So check out what he said in verse 20 and 35. He said, I will bring you into the wilderness, right? Into the wilderness of the people, and there will I plead with you face to face, like as I pleaded with your fathers in the wilderness of the land of Egypt, right? So will I plead with you, okay, saith the Lord. He said, and I will cause you to pass under the rod, and I will bring you into the bond of the covenant, right? So that's very important, because we know rod is dealing with what? Rod is dealing with canon, right? Church law, right? Any rod, right? And remember, a standard of conduct or standard of excellence. Remember, you know what I'm saying? Measuring line, read, right? Dealing with this system of laws, rules, right? Which one is governed? It says canon, right? Canonical, according to ecclesiastical law. Now he said that they were living in order in accordance with divine law. Alright, so when we look at the etymology of divine, we go down to the noun part of the word, we see that the meaning, we get ecclesiastic, right? So we know that divine law is dealing with what? Ecclesiastic law, ecclesiastical law. You feel what I'm saying? And we know that ecclesiastical law is dealing with canon law, which is the rod. So when the Most High say that he's going to bring us into the wilderness, right, and we will pass under the rod, bring us back into the bond of the covenant, meaning we will be ruled as a nation under ecclesiastical law, right? Meaning that our nation will be governed by those laws, statutes, and commandments in the Mosaic law that was given by the Tzedakite priest, right? Because he's the only one that can minister in the courts of the Lord in the final temple, right? And in the new kingdom of the Most High God. Okay, so it's very funny that the Aboriginals that this person is speaking of have these stories and these traditions that that correspond to the teachings of the Tzedakite priests and the Essenes, and how they also dwell in a land of whiteness, right? A land of the north and a land of whiteness, right? Dealing with this region right here that we call the United States of America, North America, where you have Atslan, right, and all these Lebanons, and how they reestablished this order, right? And this new standard of conduct that is in accordance with divine law. So you know, all that's just very crazy, right? And so how they're in this area right here that we find it to be an area where you go to restore yourself, you know what I'm saying, and purify and reconnect with your Creator in a more divine way. And we have the Most High telling us what, that He will bring us back under divine law or ecclesiastical law, the bond of the covenant in the wilderness, right? And then just as he did with our fathers, you know what I'm saying, in the wilderness. So you can go to Isaiah, Jeremiah chapter 35. We've been dealing on the wilderness a lot, but you can see a plain correlation right here. It says the wilderness and the solitary place. Remember that place, the wilderness being referred to as a solitary place, a place in which no man inhabited, or a place of separation, you know, solitary. You know, the 10 northern tribes went into Osiris, right? The wilderness, the cedar forest. You feel what I'm saying? And we know that the only place suitable for being called a cedar land is what? Lebanon, right? So it said the wilderness and a solitary place shall be glad for them, and the desert shall rejoice and blossom as a rose, as the rose. It shall blossom abundantly, rejoice even with the joy of singing. It says the glory of Lebanon shall be given unto it, right? So we know in many cases we have these the wilderness being associated with Lebanon. Even go to Isaiah, what we want. Let's go to Isaiah 49. Go to Isaiah 49, chapter 19. The Most High tell us what? Hold on, let me find it. Excuse me, it's 41:19. Sorry about that. Isaiah 41:19 say, I will plant in the wilderness the cedar, the shittah tree, and the myrtle tree, and the oil tree, right? So we know that in the wilderness we have this cedar tree, and we know that the only land suitable for being literally called a cedar land or Artsrif is Lebanon. So we can see the connection of Lebanon in this place we call the wilderness. You know what I'm saying? And how these people go into the wilderness, separate themselves right from their oppressive society, and reestablish themselves with their creator, just like in Exodus, right? They left Exodus out of Egypt, and then went amongst the shittim trees, right? And then gathered themselves, and then with Joshua the Mashiach, right? The Mashiach, Yahshua's salvation, they made conquest into the Holy Land, right? Same with the children of Israel. They left their oppressive government of Assyrian captivity, went into Osiris, the cedar forest, right? Cedar land, or aka Lebanon, and then went back into their territories. You know what I'm saying? So so I find that very interesting, and that's, like I say, man, even when you read in Ecclesiasticus, it tells you, man, there's nothing new under the sun, right? And how the Most High, we just read how the Most High said He will bring us back into the wilderness and back into the bond of the covenant, right? So we know that we're gonna have to go amongst those sacred trees and that sacred area, that sacred land, sacred portions of the land. You see what I'm saying? Separate from you know, these concrete jungles, and we know we're gonna have to reestablish ourselves in true divine, in true audience of divine law, right? From the true interpreters of the law, the true administrators of the law, right? These Essenes, these Zadokite priests, right? And we know that we can look right into our aboriginals, and we can see remnants of that culture there. You know what I'm saying? So we have help. We can see remnants of those teachings in the land. So we know that's something that we very much are going to have to look at, man, because it's all about us becoming the atonement for Israel. See, that's what herbal sacrifice is dealing with, right? Remember I showed you this article right here, and you know what I'm saying, just rock with me, fam. We just building, like I said, we just reasoning. And remember how it said that the council of the community was to be the most holy dwelling for Aaron, where without the flesh of holocaust and the fat of sacrifices, a sweet fragrance was to be sent up to God, where prayer was to serve as an acceptable fragrance of righteousness. So understand that this herbal sacrifice is dealing with the communion, right? The communion between you and the divine spirit or the great creator, right? Now it says the community itself was to be the sacrifice offered to God in atonement for Israel's sins. Now let's back up a little bit. Remember what I was saying about this whole Christ, right? Christ didn't come to do away with the law. He only came to do away with the sacrifice. He came to be the ultimate sacrifice, right? The ultimate reconciliation for the sins of Israel. But Christ wasn't a sin, right? This Christ figure wasn't a sin. That's what they don't tell you. So he was living by the ways of the interpretations of the laws of the sons of Zadok, which is why his big cousin John, right? He learned a lot from his cousin John. His John, right, created the way in the what? The wilderness, right? John is the voice crying out in the wilderness, right? John is also a Zadokite priest. You know what I'm saying? He is also in that sin. So we see, right, Christ's correlation and his connection to this group of priests who separate themselves and write true statutes of law, and they do away with animal sacrifice and bloody sacrifice, and they implement the herbal sacrifice, but they also implement themselves, right, as a holy atonement for the sins of Israel. Because like I say, Christ was what? He was the ultimate reconciliation. But it's really the who? It's really the righteous, right? The elect, who have to purify themselves, separate themselves, purify themselves, you know what I'm saying, become holy and pure, clean the blood, and then present themselves as holy offerings unto the Most High God to redeem the children of Israel, to bring us back in the covenant, just like the sons of Zadok did in a prior time. You feel what I'm saying? That's why it's important, you know what I'm saying, to clean yourself. Listen, man, if you want to eat meat, do you. You know what I'm saying? If you want to sacrifice animals, do you. You know what I'm saying? This is not for you. What I'm speaking to those who are logical, you know what I'm saying, and with a sound mind, who can understand principles of nature and natural law, you know what I'm saying, and know that to clean that blood, you got to detox yourself. To clean your body, you got to detox yourself from a lot of toxic things. You know what I'm saying? So I'm speaking to those who are trying to become an atonement for the nation of Israel, to clean themselves, to purify themselves. Right, you know what I'm saying, to live by a natural, holy way, so we can, you know what I'm saying, so we can connect back to our Creator, so we can be that voice, right, you know what I'm saying, we can be that, those people who make atonement and bring our people back into the bond of the covenant, so we can be reestablished, what, under the rod with ecclesiastical law. Alright, so I want to make that clear, man. When we talking about redemption, we talking about separation and purification. Understand the timeline. You know what I'm saying? Don't take it out of context. Understand what our folks was doing when they were doing it. You feel what I'm saying? And was they in accordance with the Most High when they were doing that? Right? Because people, you know what I'm saying, since I've been talking about it, people want to bring up certain instances in the Mosaic books of the King James version, of when, you know what I'm saying, the Israelites was eating meat and when they were dealing with animal sacrifice. But like I say, man, you got to understand, like Jeremiah 8:8 say, you know what I'm saying, let's get it real fast. Okay, say, how do you say we are wise, right? And the law of the Lord is with us. So how do you say that we have wisdom based upon the true interpretations of the law, the correct law? It said, lo, no, certainly in vain made he it. The pen of the scribes is in vain. All right, so again, I'm gonna say this again. Understand, if the ruling priest in the time of Jeremiah was administering incorrect statutes of law, if they were rewriting the law incorrectly, you feel what I'm saying, which got the children of Israel placed in captivity and bondage, how do we believe, how do we know, you know what I'm saying, that we getting the fully correct Levitical law in the King James Version in this day and time? You see what I'm saying? Because don't you think that if they really had the true interpretations of the law written in Scripture, that, you know what I'm saying, we wouldn't be in captivity or bondage? You feel what I'm saying? So the pen of the scribes made the law in vain. They corrupted the law. They wrote what they wanted to write in there. That's why God tell you there's only one priesthood who kept my true statutes, and they will be the ministers or the executive branch of government who write and enforces the law in my kingdom. Alright, so like I say, when we talking about redemption and separation, we talking about cleaning ourselves, being pure. You see what I'm saying? You can do all that stuff, you know what I'm saying? Hey, that's on you. But like I say, we all know it's very logical to what type of system of eating and morals that will purify you, and which ones will kind of keep you contaminated and on a lesser, you know what I'm saying, lesser vibration, you know what I'm saying? Because I've been vegan, I've went vegan for long periods of time, and I knew, you know what I'm saying, I know that my spiritual, you know what I'm saying, journey was at its highest You know what I'm saying? All kind of crazy stuff was happening when I was purifying and detoxing my body and eating stuff that come out the ground, just like we do, like true Adamites. So I don't care what you say. You know what I'm saying? You ain't gonna come and convince me to do nothing. You feel what I'm saying? You can take it or leave it. You know what I'm saying? But I'm talking to the ones who want to be that atonement, that pure, that clean sacrifice. You know what I'm saying? For the atonement of the nation of Israel, right? Those who are young, you know what I'm saying? The ones who up day and night thinking about this, they chastise for our peace, because that's what the Most High say, right? Let me take you to Jeremiah 52 when he's talking about what, right, the coming salvation, right? Yahshua or salvation, however you want to look at it, you know what I'm saying? But that's what salvation means, right? And we know this is the person who takes us into the promised land and brings us into the bond of the covenant. But I want to jump down right here, right? We're talking about, say, behold, my servant. Right now, my servant. We know my servants are what? Servants are ministers. When you look at the etymology on minister, you get servant. You feel what I'm saying? So we know this is somebody who's dealing with the true way of the Most High, who's walking with the Most High. You know what I'm saying? So it say, he shall be exalted and extolled and be very high. As many were astonished at thee, his visage was so merry more than men, his form was more than the sons of men. So I just want to get this last part of Isaiah 52 to bring you into 53, saying to let you know that we're talking about this servant, right? So it says, who have believed our report? To whom is the arm of the Lord revealed? For he shall grow up before him as a tender plant and as a root out of a dry ground, and have no form and no comeliness. And when we shall see him, there is no beauty that we shall desire in him. He is despised and rejected of men, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief. And we hid as it were our faces from him, and he was despised and esteemed not. Surely he hath borne our griefs, right? He hath borne our griefs and carried our sorrows, yet we did esteem him stricken and smitten of God and afflicted. He was wounded for our transgressions, he was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon him. See what I'm saying? Understand what that's saying. The chastisement of our peace was upon him. So God is taking these group of people, or this person, however you want to look at it, he's taking them through hell, or he's chastising them. You know what I'm saying? He beating them. You know what I'm saying? He whooping them for the redemption of the nation, right? For the chastisement of our peace. So for the peace of a nation, these particular people are going through it, right? So you know what I'm saying? If that sound like you, then you know what I'm saying? So be it. You know, all we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned everyone his own way. And the Lord have laid on him the iniquity of us all. I don't know if I read this last part where it said, and with his stripes we are healed. Okay, so keep going. It said, he was oppressed and he was afflicted, yet his mouth, not open his mouth. Yet he opened not his mouth. Excuse me. He is brought as a lamb to the slaughter, right? As a sacrifice. And as a sheep before the shearers is dumb, so he opens not his mouth. Okay, he is taken from prison and from judgment. Who shall declare his generation? Right, for he is cut off of the land of the living. For the transgressions of my people he is stricken. Okay. I'm gonna jump down right here to verse 10. It said, yet it pleased the Lord to bruise him. Alright, so it pleased the Lord to take this person or this group of people through something, right? For the chastisement of the peace of the nation. Is going to tell you why. I say he hath put him to grief when it say when thou shalt make his soul an offering for sin. See that? So the Most High put this. It say it pleased the Most High to bruise him or to put him to grief to make his soul an offering for sin. You know what I'm saying? So you know. That just goes to show that those of you out there, you know what I'm saying, who are chastised, right, where it's at, who are chastised for the peace of your nation, man, every day, every night, all you thinking about is redemption. You know what I'm saying, how to bring us into into redemption from oppression, you know, into liberty, into sovereignty, into self-governance, man. You have been cursed with this responsibility. You know what I'm saying? You young, you know, however, you just got things going on, but you over here digging into ancient documents. You trying to piece things together, you know what I'm saying? And you feel like you might, you know, it's like, why are you doing this? Right? You have been cursed with the chastisement of the peace of your nation, right? Because you are called to be an offering of sin. You feel what I'm saying? You are called because your soul is being made an offering for the sin of a wicked nation. So those of you are who I'm speaking to. You feel what I'm saying? Right? The community itself was to be a sacrifice offered to God in atonement of sins. Because even when you keep reading the verse, let's keep reading. Right? So, let's see, right? Yet it pleased the Lord to bruise him. He hath put him to grief when thou shalt make his soul an offering for sin. He shall see his seed and prolong his days, and the pleasure of the Lord shall prosper in his hand. He shall see the travail of his soul, right? And he shall be satisfied, right? So he shall see the travail of his soul, right? Make him his soul an offering for sin, right? And he shall be satisfied. You see what I'm saying? And he say, by his knowledge shall my righteous servant is a what? Is a minister, right? Okay, when you look up minister, to perform religious rites, provide religious services, you get to serve. Right now, a servant. Okay, so by his knowledge shall my righteous servant, or my righteous minister. Now understand, remember what I told you. The name Zadok literally means righteous, right? So it's like, so my Zadok servant or my Zadok minister, right? Remember the Most High tell you in Ezekiel 40, 43, 44, and chapter 48 that the sons of Zadok are the only ones who can minister unto him in the courts of Jerusalem, New Jerusalem, right? Because they are the only ones who kept his way. So they are the only ones who can administer law. So right here it's saying my righteous servant, right? My it's almost like he's saying my Zadokite minister shall justify many, and he shall bear their iniquities, right? Because the Lord is going to use their soul for an offering of atonement. Now coming back right here where it says satisfied, when you understand this word satisfied, it has a deeper meaning, right? Satisfied, right? To pay, repay, or make reparation. You see what I'm saying? Discharge fully, comply, or make amends, right? Literally do enough, right? Because that's what you got to do, you know what I'm saying? You got to do enough, whatever it takes to get us there, you know what I'm saying? That's what you've been chastised with, you know what I'm saying, with the peace of your nation, whatever it takes, you know what I'm saying, to get us to that level of experience and liberty the righteous way, right? But when you go down to the word satisfaction, check this out, right? Satisfactory is capable of atoning for sin. Satisfaction is the performance of an act set forth by a priest or other church authority or ecclesiastical administrators to atone for sin. Okay, so understand what the Bible verse is telling us, you know what I'm saying? How there would be those righteous servants, those righteous ministers, right? Or that righteous minister who will be dealing with the law in the true way and by the true interpretations, right? And would make atonement for the sins of the nation, right? And would be chastised with that peace, because remember, these are the men. Let me get it. Okay, so this is who is in reference to when you read the Bible verses when it's talking about these men who went groping after a way, right? So like it says right here, it says, I'm going to go up here, it says, in the period of the wrath of 390 years after he had given them into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, he visited them, and he made to spring forth from Israel and Aaron a root of his planting to inherit his land. Alright, to grow fat through the goodness of his earth. And they had understanding of their iniquity, right? So they understood that the whole nation was going the wrong way, right? And they knew that they were guilty men, so they knew that they were sinning. And had like the blind been groping after the way 20 years. And God considered their works, for they sought him with a perfect heart, and he raised them up a teacher of righteousness to lead them in the way of his heart, right? So understand what they're saying. These people knew that they was, you know what I'm saying, sinning, knew that the nation was sinning, right? And was very disturbed about it, and was groping after the way for 20 years, right? Was groping after the true ways, and understanding that they were not following those true ways. So these people was chastised with the peace of a nation. They were chastised with the responsibility of correcting and being an atonement, right? The community itself, right, was to be sacrificed or offered to God in atonement for Israel's sin. So they had to separate themselves, become righteous, become pure, become clean, become holy. They had to clean the blood. had to detox themselves so they could be a righteous, sacred, holy atonement for the nation of Israel, to bring them back into the bond of the covenant, because they were living by the true administrations, right? This is our priesthood. Alright, so just keep that in understanding. That's why I say, you know what I'm saying, when we're dealing with separation and purification, we should take this route, you know what I'm saying, or we should listen to the priest who did it just that and had the authority by the divine creator to do just that, you know what I'm saying, and to give us the statutes and the principles to follow when we do just that. You know what I'm saying? Because it's all about purification. You know what I'm saying? Separation. Just being righteous, just being holy, man. I know I went on a rant, so I just want to continue with this information. Then we're gonna get into some more clips. All right. So I appreciate you guys for rocking with me. We getting there. And forgive me if I get redundant sometimes. You know, I just be letting this stuff flow, man. I ain't really got nothing written down, anything. I'll just be put it together and I just drop it, you know what I'm saying? So like I said, we just building, and we just give all thanks and praise for the opportunity to commune and build and reason. So I want to read this PDF right here on the peace pipes. The pipe is a pipe copy PDF. I had to email it to myself because now I can't find it no more when I Google for it. So I find, you know, that's crazy, but anyway, I was able to catch it by the grace of the Most High. And so I want to go down and I want to read because it got some interesting stuff in it. Alright, tobacco and knick smoking mixes. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, check that out. Pause that and read that. If I can leave it in the description box, I will. Alright, so history and nature of the sacred pipe. Alright, so let's read. It says, known by the various names, the great pipe, the sacred pipe, the medicine pipe, the peace pipe, and the calumet. These all refer to the most important elements of a very ancient American Indian spiritual tradition. Among the hundreds of indigenous people that populated the Americas, most embraced a tobacco ceremony that was central ritual and was quite comparable to Christian communion. The pipe was the most potent symbol in this rite of harmony and brotherly love, not just among tribal members or even among all men, but of all creation. The pipe ritual served as a potent reminder that we are all related and one. While at the same time being apart and separate. For many of us, this tradition is still very much alive in its present as well as the past. The pipe ceremony served not only to consecrate peace alliances, but was used at all solemn gatherings and councils, including declarations of war. The open display of the pipe in the battle was a flag of truce. It was also often openly displayed as a passport of peace and acceptance when traveling among friendly tribes, right? That's crazy too. Like when a person he's traveling across the land and he's coming amongst another tribe, you know what I'm saying? Man, that peace pipe that's his passport of peace, you know what I'm saying? That peace pipe give him safe transition through the land, you know what I'm saying? A safe passing through the land, you know what I'm saying? Amongst unfriendly tribes. So you know this thing was really held in a sacred manner. So the pipe has thus played many roles in the use as an icon of harmony and connection to the creation and the creator. Alright. So harmony and connection to the creation and the creator. Among the Yuchi, the great confederacy of southeastern mound building peoples was known as the Sotaniwanu Yadaha. Look at that word. Bam. Yadaha, the sacred brotherhood of the pipe. But look at that word right there. You got Judah, right? But what's crazy is when you're dealing with these Yuchi Indians, their name is Soyaha, and they have a lot of ancient Hebrew customs, right? They have a lot of they really live and keep a lot of feasts. They keep a lot of, you know what I'm saying, sacred holy days that the ancient Hebrews kept. But now what's also funny is, when you read this article, and also just history period, you find that these Yuchi are kind of very associated with the peace pipes. You know what I'm saying? And I find that very funny because you know, they were dealing with herbal sacrifice just like the Essenes. And remember, I told you that you know what helped me link the Essenes, what allowed me to link the Essenes in with the Lebanon drop was the fact that in Tennessee I could see the word Essene, right, in the name Tennessee. Now what's crazy about these Yuchi is the Yuchi, also spelled Uchi or Uchi, are a Native American tribe who traditionally lived in eastern Tennessee, right, River Valley in Tennessee in the 16th century. The Yuchi were known mound builders. See these over here? Right? These are Negroes. You know what I'm saying? These are black Indians. Look what it say. It say, after suffering many fatalities due to epidemic disease and warfare in the 18th century, several surviving Yuchi were removed to Indian territory in the 1830s together with their allies, the Muskogee Creek. Some who remained in the South were classified as free persons of color. Others were enslaved. Look at that. Some remnant groups migrated to Florida, where they became part of the recently formed Seminole tribe, which were the Maroons, right? The Cimarrons, the Runaways, right? So I just find that funny, man, that this article that we building on is dealing with these Yuchi who are located in Tennessee, which is the area, right? We've got the Cedars of Lebanon in Tennessee, you know what I'm saying, and this area to help us link, you know what I'm saying, the Essenes with the whole Lebanon and stuff like that, man. So just a few connections that I find interesting. So we're gonna keep reading. It says, archaeological evidence indicates that the roots of these traditions go back 2,000 or 3,000 years, coming from the southeast, from the Mesoamerican cultures such as the Olmec, when the Yuchi first migrated to the southeast. All right, so check that out. Tobacco veneration came in with the horticulture of corn, squash, and beans. The mound builders were they say the mound builders were cultural outposts and trade partners with the Mayan cultures and were greatly influenced by them. The pipe was very likely invented in the southeast, and early tube pipes have been found in the oldest burial mounds. Pipes quickly became a medium of expression for art and spirituality in the southeastern part of North America. Today, the calumet of the Sioux represents the classic style of the great pipe, but it is greatly influenced by the pipes that came before it from the mound cultures in the central and southeastern portions of North America. They say the sacred pipe. Check this out. Very interesting. The sacred pipe arose out of the ritual use of tobacco as a sacrament. Okay, such tobacco use was embraced as a part of cultivation of corn and beans, as the people became farmers rather than hunters of wild game. All right, so ma'am, understand that right there. When you're dealing with this sacred pipe and the sacrament, right, the holy herb that was used in place of blood as to offer sacrifice, which was tobacco, right? It says such tobacco was used as part of cultivation of corn and beans, right? As the people became farmers, right? As they became agriculture and growers of natural food rather than hunters of wild game. So that just goes to show you right there, man. When the implementation of herbal sacrifice, when herbal sacrifice was implemented, you see the decline of hunting wild game, you know what I'm saying, and eating wild flesh, you know what I'm saying. So I find that very interesting. Now I do want to say this, man, and people got to be realistic. And anybody who has been walking with the Most High should know that the Most High is going to be with you regardless wherever you at, as long as you are in a process to coming back to Him. You see what I'm saying? As long as you are in an effort, making an effort to come back to His original statutes and commandments. So it's not, if you're not eating meat right now, you're not, you know what I'm saying? Like, people, let's not be simple. Understand, man, it's a process of cleaning yourself, cleaning your body, detoxing yourself, you know what I'm saying? Your body runs on minerals, your organs, they eat minerals. You know, I heard, what's his name, the elder, who established that community over there in Israel. I forgot the elder name, man. Excuse me, I forgot the elder's name, but he said it best. He was like, with the infinite wisdom of the Most High, knowing that we could not go inside to the side of a mountain and take out an iron ore or a block of iron, so He allowed the minerals that's housed in the soil from which we were created to grow and be housed in the fruits and in the vegetables and the plants, so that we can then go and then eat the fruits and the vegetables and receive those minerals that our body was made from and needs to replenish itself. So it's all about that rejuvenation, that reconnection, that divine purity, like I say, giving your cells planetary information so they can be in accordance with the planet, with the creator, with creation, right? Remember what it said? It said the pipe had played a role, many roles in its use as an icon of harmony and connection to creation and the creator. All right, so there's very important things that we must take into consideration when we're dealing with separation and purity, right? Because we know separate in the Hebrew means what? Nazareth, right? Or Nazar, right? We know the Nazarites, right? They were what? They were whiter than snow, right? Dealing with Lebanon or Laban, dealing with a separation in a vow of a stricter and a holier set of laws, right? They even had a certain dietary law, right? And they didn't eat everything, and they were separate and they were pure. So understand when we talking about separation, you know what I'm saying, that could call for a different set of audience. You feel what I'm saying? A natural and a detoxing manner of law and statutes, you know. So with that being said, let's keep going. It said that which sustains a people, buffalo, corn, and the sun became spiritually significant, sacred, and revered. Certain plants such as tobacco, sage, and cedar took on sacred roles too, as they were placed in the fire for their aroma and smoke, which lifted to the heavens along with the people's hopes and prayers. For the people did not live by fire bread alone, but needed symbols, ideas, and understanding to sustain the spirits as well as the body. Oh man, that's very interesting, right? A man cannot live on bread alone, right? Remember the Essenes said that. I feel like, I don't know, man, it's getting crazy. It said, if one truly understands the medicine pipe, then one comprehends the infinite universe, for all is reflected in the pipe. Alright, so let me see here. I think we're gonna start right there, man. But y'all catch this. Let me see. It say, while use of the pipe, tobacco as a sacrament cross-cut many Indian cultures, such as specified rituals are varied. Okay. Yeah, man. So I think we're gonna start right there with this article, man. But I find this stuff very crazy. Before I leave it, let me make sure it's not anything else I want to get out. All right. So yeah, man. Just giving all praise and thanks, you know what I'm saying, for that piece of information right there. But just seeing, you know, just the sacredness and, man, the ceremonial use of this peace pipe, how it was implemented into the lives of these aboriginals of this particular part of the land, you know what I'm saying, and how it was used to supplement for blood and animal sacrifice, and it was used for herbal sacrifice as an altar of incense, you know what I'm saying, to send the prayers up, and you know what I'm saying, the prayers and the hopes up to the creator, you know what I'm saying, and deal with divine communion, you know what I'm saying, and things like that. And man, and how the cedar, right, you know, they were using the cedar as well, man. I just find all this stuff crazy, man, and just give all thanks and praise for the information and how the Most High has been leading me, because you all know, man, I dropped this video right here, right? Cool it with your brethren, peace pipe, country vibes. I ain't even, you know, I didn't really have all this information, you know what I'm saying, pieced together then. Like, I was just, man, the Most High was just leading me. I was just doing stuff. I was looking, you know, looking into certain things, and just, you know, man, just being really being led in the spirit. And I just give all thanks and praise to the Most High for it, because as I was, you know, moving into the information, I was also moving into the spirit of the information, because I was making the stuff our ancestors made with the woods I was talking about, as I was, you know what I'm saying, digging on them and presenting them to the people, man. So that's why I say, man, I don't really be talking, man. I really be walking. I really be living this, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? The Creator, man, I just give all thanks and praise for how he guided me and how he deal with me. Because, you know what I'm saying, this is, you know, this is really my life, you know what I'm saying? I don't really just be talking, man. Like I say, man, I really live this and I really walk this. So I want to get a little clip out of this, man, dealing with the peace pipe. Like I say, I hadn't made a peace pipe. So, man, you know, without further ado, let's just get a little bit out of that.
What's going on, man? It's your boy T. We out here in the neighborhood, you feel me? Check out the eastern red cedar trees, about 6 on. So what's going on, man? It's your boy Teach, man. We out here cooling, man, in the wilderness. You feel me? We out here in the neighborhood. We still in the neighborhood though, man. It's all our people property, man. You know what I'm saying? But just want to show y'all this peace pipe I made. You know, I made it out of the stem is made out of sumac and the like the natives use, and this right here is red cedar. They're from the same tree I showed you in the beginning. You know what I'm saying? It's from them trees right there. I made the bowl, so check that out. See if you can get that. Yeah, you know, I ain't gonna lie, man. It's crazy. You know, I be talking about these trees and these biblical woods and stuff like that, but for real, dog, like your boy really from the country, like really from an area with a lot of trees, and I be, you know, I do a lot of wood work, you know what I'm saying? Like I be, you know, I can make bows and arrows, you know what I'm saying? Like whatever, I be out there just like be working with the wood. So, you know, it was really no surprise when I started bringing together a lot of these, this information about these trees. You know what I'm saying? But what we're going to do right now, I'm going to have a little peace pipe session with y'all. You know, just cool it, talk for a little second. We're going to do it with 3 herbs. The first herb, mugwort. We're going to talk a little bit about this mugwort today, man, because it's a crazy herb. You know what I'm saying? Make us a little knick-knick, as they call it. The second herb, they're going to be some of that real deal tobacco. And folks, some of that good natural pipe tobacco. And this third herb, you can get this at your local gas station. Right at the gas pump, 93 Supreme. That gas. No, but for real, I'm finna prepare this knick-knick, you know what I'm saying? And we're gonna come back, we're gonna chop it up. Feel me? So, got a little knick-knick in there, you know what I'm saying? So, since, you know what I'm saying, we're dealing with the altar right here, the portable altar, you know what I'm saying? We got the bowl, it's the holy red cedar, man. You was going to give some thanks and praise to the Creator, man. Hey, you know what I'm saying? For everything, for life, health, and strength. You know what I'm saying? For the opportunity to live, you know what I'm saying? To be free. Not really free, but you know what I'm saying? Enjoy what we can in this society, you know what I'm saying? While we can. So, you know, I want to give all thanks and praise before we light the peace pipe. So, you know what I'm saying? That being done, man, I just want to talk to y'all about this mugwort. Because it's crazy how I went up on it. If y'all don't know about the mugwort, man, the mugwort is like it's a great herb, man, you know what I'm saying? They call it the dream leaf. You know what I'm saying? They call it the dream leaf, and they got a lot of, you know, medicinal, even cosmetic properties and stuff like that. You know, like kidney cleaning and, you know what I'm saying, a lot of stuff, but you know, I hadn't got it because of its ability to help you in your dream state and stuff like that, and allow you to have lucid dreams. So when I was doing my research on it, man, come to find out, this joker got a chemical in it called thujone, and the Western red cedar got the same chemical in this thujone. I mean, in it. You know what I'm saying? This thujone is like they say it got the same THC. They got the same molecular structure as THC, right? And then they say it acts on the same cannabinoid as THC. So I was like, dang, what that crazy. But then they'll come and say, well, studies have shown that this to be false, but at the same time, they can't explain the psychoactive effects that it have, you know, on the human psyche. So, but and it's just crazy to make me think, like, dang, why would cedar have a chemical like thujone? You know, that would act on something like that, man. It kind of helped me understand incense. You know what I'm saying? And dealing with incense, man, and how that smell, the priests burning these sacred herbs with this thing, how that could affect them in that, man. It kind of helped me understand incense. You know what I'm saying? And dealing with incense, man, and how that smell, the priest burning these sacred herbs with this thing, how that could affect them in a high conscious state in the temple. You know what I'm saying? Like some of them documents say that walking up in them Mayan temples and stuff like that. You get up there, boy, it's like a whole nother realm. You know what I'm saying? It's so high, you got the incense burning. It's such a holy atmosphere, you know what I'm saying? So we give all thanks and praise for that, man, dealing with the herb and everything. So I want to give a herb and everything. So I want to give a shout out to the fam, man. Cool it with y'all for a little bit, man, while we out here in the neighborhood, you know what I'm saying? And just around these sacred trees, man.
Alright, so yeah, man, you know what I'm saying? Ain't no game. You know what I'm saying? Your boy really been, you know what I'm saying? Your boy really been walking with you. You know what I'm saying? I ain't just been talking with you, I've been walking with you. You know what I'm saying? You can see that video was posted, hold on. Did I get a date? I don't know. But you know what I'm saying, y'all can find that when it was posted, man. But yeah, man, that was a couple of months ago. That was some months ago, man. You know what I'm saying? I was talking about these herbs and these incense, man, because the Most High would just lead me in that direction. Like I say, man, I built me a peace pipe, man. You gotta understand, when I was first coming into this biblical American Indian drop was some of the first time I ever did any type of carpentry work. You know what I'm saying? Really building stuff right like that with wood, man. So I felt like it was a really divine movement in my personal journey. You know what I'm saying? And like I wanted me a peace pipe, man. I wanted me a sacred altar, and I went and built me one. I cut me down a whole sumac tree, then I carved that joker up, gave me 3 notches. You know what I'm saying? 3 rings, and I cut me a branch off the cedar tree, man, and I made me a bowl, you know, and I made me a sacred altar, man, in which I could send the prayers up the ancient way, you know. And I know a lot of people don't agree with me displaying my sacred altar on the web and everything like that, but you know, I make that sacrifice just to show my people and present this information to my people and get them excited about these things and get them to see their own people doing it, you know what I'm saying, so they can know that, you know what I'm saying, these stem from their ancient customs, so they can feel more comfortable about coming back, you know, so they can have that exposure, man. So I just give all thanks and praise, man. Like I say, man, your boy really been walking with you, man. I've never seen such a fruitful just a fruitful abode of information like this cedar drop, man. The way you can video after video after video talking about a tree, and each video have important potent and unique information, man. So I just want to give all thanks and praise, you know, to the Most High for this information, man. Just want to take y'all over here real quick, show y'all these pipes, man, because these things are beautiful. And I got some owl feathers, man. I'm thinking about putting on the pipe. You know what I'm saying? I got it right here, man. And you know, I sent up some prayers and burned some sacred incense in a sacred peace pipe before I made this video, man. So just want to give all thanks and praise again, man. Like I say, man, these things are beautiful, man. And you heard how he said that the red stone they mine, man. White man can't go up there in the mountains and get that stone, man. So, man, I'll just be wondering, like, I'll be thinking, I wonder one day, you know, if we are successful in our journey to reclaiming our indigenous status, if we can get that American Indian indigenous identification, man. Could we have access to these mines, man, and get our own red stone, man, and make our own peace pipe for sacred use? You know what I'm saying? Like, man, these things are sacred, man. I know I make them, but I can't sell them. You know what I'm saying? I can't sell the sacred peace pipes, man, because this is an altar, man, and I have more respect for our divine creators than that. So, you know, if I rock with you, you know what I'm saying? If you really want one, you know, designed by my hand, just hit me up. You know, let me know something. We can work something out, man. I got J. Stu, man. I got you coming, brother. You know what I'm saying? I ain't forgot about you. You know what I'm saying? So, just wanted to say that, and get over all things of praise to the Most High again. But real quick, man, I want to come over here and talk about this mugwort, right? The herb one of the herbs that I had in the knick I made in the peace pipe video. So I just want to touch on this mugwort just for a second. It says mugwort is the common name for several species of aromatic plants in the genus Artemisia. Now this genus Artemisia combines or not combines, but also has the herb sage, right? The sage is also from the Artemisia family, and also wormwood is also from the Artemisia family. So these are very purifying herbs, right? You take the wormwood and it kind of purify your system of parasites, right? Remember in Revelation, wormwood was used to basically clean the parasites off the earth, you know what I'm saying, or whatnot. But you know, that's another story. But so you see, and then we know sage, right? Sage is used for purifying the area, right? Smudging, as you can see, is used to purify the peace pipe. So this Artemisia family is dealing with a very specific family of purifying herbs, right? You know, when you smell that, you know, when you burn that sage and you burn these herbs and you smell that really high green herbal smell, that scent, you know what I'm saying, which I think is that thujon, but I don't know, I'm just speaking. But you smell that, you know what I'm saying, and they kind of get you a little buzz, like you smell it, and whoo, boy, you get a little lightheaded. You know what I'm saying? That's that high, you know what I'm saying, that's that high herbal stuff, man. That's what get them priests in that high elevated conscious state. That's why they said, instead of what? They said that they not sacrificing living animals, but studying rather to preserve their own minds in a state of holiness and purity. So when you get those purifying herbs, right, that burn, you get that pure smell, that, you know what I'm saying, and that does something to your consciousness, which we're about to get into, you know what I'm saying. So that's what the priest was dealing with, as opposed to inhaling, you know, burning fat, blood, and hair, and animal body parts, and all of that, you know, just for the atonement of your reckless sins, so you can just go out and do whatever you want to do, long as you got you a couple of lambs in the backyard, you can go and sacrifice. You know what I'm saying? I don't really think both sides really dealing with stuff like that. It seems like it just provokes wickedness. You know what I'm saying? So what I want to do is I want to jump down a little bit. Okay, so now, like I say, man, the cedar drop is beautiful, because you cannot seriously make all this stuff up with all these correlations. I mean, you just can't. You know what I'm saying? So when you jump down to the uses of the mugwort, right, it says mugwort oil contains thujon. Okay, that's what I was talking about in the video, right? Thujon, which is toxic in large amounts under prolonged intake, right? Because it's not for you to be, you know, every day, you know, a daily habitual thing, man. It's for certain, you know, ceremonial and sacred occasions. You see what I'm saying? And the see how the Most High works when you dishonor that and you continue to do things, you know what I'm saying, and use these herbs out of their, you know, out of moderation. It can be very toxic, right? So it says thujon is also present in the thuja plicata, which is the western red cedar. So I mean, like, just just think about that, man. Give all thanks and praise to the Most High, man. Like, how in the world is, like, why is this mugwort, this purifying, you know what I'm saying, brain, spiritual stimulating herb have this chemical in it that's also present in the cedar trees? You know what I'm saying? Like, these incorruptible trees. Remember, these are the incorruptible trees. They got antifungal, antibacterial properties, right? They got the thujaplicin, right, that kills fungi and bacteria, and it keeps the wood from rotting, making it incorruptible. So, you know, that's just something to ask, you know, you know what I'm saying, something to just to meditate on, right? So let's see. Okay, you know, medicine, the mugwort plant contains essential oils, senile, wormwood oil, see, and thujon, right? All right. Let's see here. The plant called Nagadamani in Sanskrit, for the feelings of unease, unwellness, or general malaise, or whatever that word is. But anyway, y'all catch that, you know what I'm saying? But I just want to build on this thujon. So let's take a trip over here, and we're gonna build on this thujon for a second, because it's very crazy, man, how this is present in this cedar, right? So we're gonna let's understand this thujon. Thujon is a quercetin or a terpene that occurs naturally in two diastereomeric whatever forms. Okay, A thujon, B thujon. It has menthol odor, though it is best known as a chemical compound in the spirit absinthe, right? This drink, right, that has psychoactive and hallucinogenic properties, supposedly, which contains only small quantities of thujone, right? All right, and it is unlikely to be responsible for absinthe's alleged psychedelic effects, right? So they say thujone acts on the GABA, and as a component of several essential oils, is used in perfumery. Alright, so let's jump down a little. Alright, so real quick, it says in the sources, thujone is found in a number of plants such as the arbor vitae, right, which is the tree of life, aka the cedar tree, genus thuja, hence the derivation of his name, the Nakota cypress, right, the juniper, mugwort, oregano, common sage, tansy, and wormwood. Most notably, grand wormwood, Artemisia absinthium, right, wormwood absinthium. Used as a mixture of 1 or 2 isomers. Alright, well, anyways, you see the thujone is present in the junipers, right, the cedars, and also the sage and the wormwood, you know, the tree of life. But check this out. It says, based on studies that only look at molecular shape, for many years, thujone was thought to act similarly to THC on the cannabinoid receptors. See that? So this chemical here, thujone, is thought to act similarly as THC on the cannabinoid receptors that you already got in your brain, right? So the cannabinoids and THC react to the cannabinoid receptors in your brain. So does this thujone that's in this mugwort and the cedar trees. Okay, jump down to the history real quick. It says after absinthe was banned, research dropped off until the 1970 when a British scientific journal, Nature, published an article comparing the molecular shape of thujone to the tetrahydrocannabinoid THC, alright, the primary psychoactive substance found in cannabis, marijuana, and hypothesized it would act the same way on the brain, sparking the myth that thujone was a cannabinoid, right? Alright, now so check that out. That is very interesting because, like I said, when you're dealing with these herbs, man, that's something you got to understand. These herbs, right, when they're burned or when they're inhaled, or, you know what I'm saying, the fragrance in which they emit, they have psychoactive substances, right, which have a certain act on the brain. Now we know the way THC act on the brain. We know when you're burning your herb, you know, and you're meditating, you know, and you know what I'm saying, you're chilling and you're vibing and you're contemplating on higher principalities and thoughts. You feel what I'm saying? So the herb has an effect on the brain, right, when it's burned and when it's inhaled. Now what type of effect does burning blood, fat, and animals and body parts have on the brain, and or what type of effect does that have on the creator, or what particular creator are you worshiping that would like the smell of burning fat, blood, and all those things? But when we know the herb, right, when the herb has the ability to spark neurological activity, right? And it is basically, you know what I'm saying, has the ability to spark, to have those neurons firing faster, where higher consciousness has its ability to come in. So, you know what I'm saying, that's just something, you know, we got to ask ourselves, man, because that's what the herbs is dealing with, purification, right? They're dealing with the communion, the atonement, right? When that's what the Most High, ain't it beautiful? You know what I'm saying? What the Most High really wants you to do? He wants you to, you know what I'm saying, as opposed to going and burning his creation, his animals, you know what I'm saying, life, for the atonement of your reckless sins. He would rather you go and get you a sacred altar and burn the sacred herbs that have the ability to spark neurological activities that can make your mind in a higher elevated state closer to him, right? That where you can think about what you did, contemplate on what you did, you know what I'm saying? Think about that, you know what I'm saying? When you scratched out, when you down night, or maybe even when you done something wrong, and you go down and you roll your one, and you know what I'm saying, you light up or whatnot, and you burn the herb, and you sit down and you think and you contemplate, you know what I'm saying? You reason, you rationalize your thoughts, you weigh what you were doing, how you did it, why you did it. You feel what I'm saying? That's what the herb do. The herb make you think, like Bob Marley said, the herb make you think, you know, the herb make you meditate, you know. That's real though, you know what I'm saying? So just understanding that when we're dealing with the herbal sacrifice, in the animal sacrifice, man, because I'm not gonna get all the scriptures, man, when the Most High telling you you know, where they were dealing with sacrifices. But, you know, I will pull two, because they kind of correspond to each other, right? So I want to take you to Jeremiah chapter 7, right? And as we can see, the subtitle is evil in the land. So we know whatever is going on, the Most High is not pleased with. You know what I'm saying? So now this is Jeremiah chapter 7. Remember, Jeremiah chapter 8 tell you that the pen of the law, the pen of the scribes made the law vain, right? So it corrupted the true law of the Most High God. So I just want to take you down to chapter 7, verse 21. And it says, thus saith the Lord of hosts of God, the God of Israel, put your burnt offerings unto your sacrifices and eat flesh, right? For I spake not unto your fathers, nor commanded them in the day that I brought them out of the land of Egypt concerning burnt offerings or sacrifices. See what I'm saying? Even in the wilderness, they were going wicked and going astray from the law. Even Moses knew they was going to do that, you know, and afterwards they continued to go astray, which led us into captivity and bondage, and multiple captivities and bondages, you know what I'm saying? So how can we say that when we look at the Levitical law right now, that they had the true precepts of the divine law, when we obviously got ourselves into captivity, right? You know what I'm saying? And not only that, but think about this, and I want you to really consider this. Wouldn't it be, you know what I'm saying, I guess, how would you say, like, wouldn't it be the wicked to put the incorrect law in the King James Bible to support Christianity? So now when you have the Old Testament and the New Testament, right, together, and they say that the Old Testament is done away with because we have this new implementing of Christ, right, the ultimate reconciliation and the sacrifice for all of our sins. Now that we have him, we don't do the old ways. We don't follow the old customs, because they can flip back and look at the old customs and see animal sacrifice and all kind of primitive and pagan things, right, that they don't really want to deal with. So it's like it would be the wicked to put the false interpretations of the Levitical law into the King James Bible. That way that can support the doing away with those laws, you feel what I'm saying, and support the New Testament. Because like I say, when you look back, the Christians, right, you know what I'm saying, you're looking in that and you seeing all the animal sacrifice and the blood sacrifice and all this and that, and you like, okay, that's the old way, you know what I'm saying? But really, the Most High really wasn't even dealing with that, you know what I'm saying? Because if we keep reading, let's go. So he says, I spake not unto your fathers, nor commanded them in the day that I brought them out of the land of Egypt, which was the day in which he gave the Mosaic law. So he's saying that in the Mosaic law, I did not command it concerning burnt offerings or sacrifices. He said, but this thing commanded I them, saying, obey my voice, and I will be your God, and you shall be my people, and walk in all the ways that I have commanded you, that it may be well unto you, right? So like he said, he wasn't dealing with that. You know, he didn't command, he command obedience, right? And obey, and we can precept this, right, with 2 Samuel. I'm thinking it's 2 Samuel. It might not, it might be 1 Samuel, bear with me. Yep, it's 1 Samuel, chapter 15. And we're going to go to verse 22. It says, and Samuel said, hath the Lord a great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifice? Huh? Is that what he delight in? As in obeying the voice of the Lord? Okay, so you know what I'm saying? Pete, what he asked, he say, have the Lord as great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as in obeying the voice of the Lord. He say, behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to hearken than the fat of the rams. Okay, so understand that, because that's what the Zadokite priest was dealing with. They were dealing with oblation, which was the repentance of sin and the turning away. You feel what I'm saying? Not sacrificing any animals, but just repenting of that sin and not doing it no more. You see what I'm saying? Getting your herbs, your incense, praying unto the Most High Father with that communion based upon that holy sacrament and herb, and sending that prayer of repentance up to the Most High Father what, you know what I'm saying, what you might have just did, and seriously repenting and obeying the voice of the Most High and not doing that no more. That's what he was dealing with. You see what I'm saying? That's why Samuel say, like, does the Lord have a great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifice as he delight in obeying his voice? Because we know it's about obeying his voice, right? That's what this thing is all about, right? This thing is all about correcting Adam, so Adam can obey the voice of the Most High God. Because understand, when he was in that garden, there was a problem. Something happened, right? When that serpent was able to slither up and distort what the Most High had naturally going on, that's a problem. Because now Adam, the creation, God is looking at Adam like, my creation is not predisposed to obeying my voice. Some has interfered to where he has chosen to obey someone else's voice over mine. That's a problem. Now God got to work on Adam a little bit. You see what I'm saying? That's why God took him out the garden, right? He established his seed with certain laws. And he punished him. He said, listen, these the laws. You got to follow these laws. You got to get correct. And I'm not playing with you about it. There are going to be punishments. You see what I'm saying? So us going through these captivities and all these periods of wickedness and then coming into the law and the going out and then the reestablishing is all to correct Adam, so that Adam can be predispositioned to obey the voice of the Most High God. That's why in these last days, in the final Exodus, when we come back in the pure and the holy manner, right? Not dealing with all the animal sacrifice, all the idol worship, right? All the eating of all kind of flesh, right? We're going to eat like Adam, because Adam had dominion when he had his natural diet, right? Right, dealing with the meat, the herbs and the fruits of the field for his meat, right? Because we know meat in the Bible means food. Meat doesn't mean animal flesh. Flesh in the Bible means animal flesh. Meat means food. And we can see it in that instance where the Most High told him that the green herbs and the vegetation of the land will be his meat. He didn't say it would be his flesh, you know what I'm saying? It would be his meat. It would be his food. Because you even call vegetables meat, you know, they call it green meat, or when you're dealing with melons, you know what I'm saying, the inside, that melon, that gunk, that's the meat, you know what I'm saying? So it's all about getting Adam, right? The Adamites, that seed that the Most High planted to be conditioned to obey the voice of the Most High and the Most High alone. That's why when we be reestablished back into the bond of the covenant and back under the rod of ecclesiastical law, the law will be written in our hearts, mind, and soul. We will be incorruptible cedar trees because we will have that thing within us. What they will be within us to obey the voice of the Lord over all. So we got to finalize, right, that correction of Adam. We got to separate ourselves, clean ourselves, become like Adam, eat like Adam, live like Adam, be in connection with the plane and have dominion like Adam. You see what I'm saying? So that we can make a atonement for the sins of this wicked nation and be the true Adamites and be given back the land, be given back the garden, be given back paradise. You feel what I'm saying? So to you, you know what I'm saying? Get your body right, get your mind right. You know what it is. Give all thanks unto praise. It's better to obey than to sacrifice. Right, so, you know, just give all thanks and praise, and I just want to hopefully that can help, you know what I'm saying, some people out and guide them into, you know, the right directions on information and research. I'm not trying to tell anybody what to do or say that they need to do this or that, but I'm just really, presenting some reasonable things here, you know what I'm saying, and for the people who may be thinking in these last days that they might need to go out and try to get them a land and sacrifice that, and you know what I'm saying, like, I just hope this video, you know, be kind of enlightening and because, you know, I don't think personally, and I'm just, you know, speaking from, you know, really from my opinion, I honestly don't think the Most High is dealing with that because, you know, it just, like I say, it's almost like the door, you know, a doorway for wickedness, because as long as you know that you can go and sacrifice these rams and these animals for atonement of sin, what's going to stop you from, you know what I'm saying, from not sinning, you know what I'm saying, and things like that. So, and then plus when we are in Babylon, I think the last thing the Most High wants us to do is to offer the fat of blood of rams and stuff like that for atonement, but rather to get connected with the plane, with the land, with the sacred herbs that elevate our consciousness, so that we can have logic and reasoning and wisdom and intelligence to know how the Most High wants us to move. So I just wanted to bring that to the forefront. Like I say, I'm not going to debate with nobody. Take it or leave it. You know what I'm saying? Do your own thing. But for those of you who want to make yourself, if you want to sacrifice yourself. Make your body pure and clean and become that holy atonement for the nation of Israel, so that the Most High can hear your voice and hear your prayers as you send up that sacred herbal incense. You know what I'm saying? To the Creator. So without further ado, I want to get into the last part of this video. And since we bringing all this together and we understanding all this information about the peace pipes and Lebanon and the cedar trees, and you know what I'm saying, how the aboriginals in the land of these cedar trees was given us the sacred knowledge of this pipe, of this altar of incense, right, in place of blood sacrifice, right, and how we were looking at the Essenes. Now, when you understand the Essenes, the closest thing you get to the Essenes today in real time, and when we're looking at ourselves as a nation, is your Rastas. Yeah, man. Your Bobo Shanti, you know, your Naya Bingi. You know what I'm saying? These are the closest thing you gonna get to the priestly order of Zadok, the Essenes, you know what I'm saying, that Nazarene way, right? These people dress in robes in white, right? They wrap their head, they keep their head wrapped in turbans like the ancient priests, right? And they eat natural foods, they eat ital foods, you know. You know what I'm saying? They eat ital foods and they burn herbal incense. And so we're going to catch a few clips of, man, some Rastas burning the chalice, you know, and giving us the sacred information behind doing that. So I know this video getting long, but I hope, you know, the last pieces of this be very entertaining and kind of piece some things together and stuff like that. So, you know, let's go. Before we do that, though, I want to read this. This is from the victims of miseducation on Instagram, man. Go check it out. Go follow the brother. These are the ones who I was telling you about in my last video, the truth of Christ Church. They bring out a lot of good information about the Essenes and the sons of Zadok. So go catch that. Okay, right here in this Instagram post, it said the Rastas of Jamaica are actually what we know in the Bible as Nazarites, Essenes, sons of Zadok, and also Zadokites. Essenes were chosen by God to, let me get the rest. Let me see. Let's see. The Essenes were chosen by God to create a separate Nazar, right, pure priesthood, as the Levitical priesthood was corrupted by Satan, right, by Baal, right, Baal, the one who wanted to smell them burning the fat and blood of these rams and all that bloody stuff. You know the Most High ain't dealing with that, especially in his white, pure and clean temple. Now, come on now, let's be real now. But for real though, but we can see though the corruption that and how Satan and Baal influenced the Levitical priesthood though. If anybody has wisdom, eyes to see and ears to hear, they can see that. So it says the wicked priests and scribes, right, of Israel, their duty was to write the pure law, okay, and worship as given to Moses before the corruption of scribes mentioned in Jeremiah 8:8. The corruption identified by these men was a false name of God given to the people. The addition of the bloody sacrifice as worship and eating of animal flesh is also exposed by these men as satanic and barbaric. Get the drop. Get it? Christ came from the priesthood of these men. Like I said, Christ was an Essene, right? So why his followers, why the Christians are not living by the Essene way? To let you know there's something going on, you know what I'm saying? Christ came from the priesthood of these men, and the churches have been working around the clock to conceal these facts. They did not shave their heads or faces. They ate no animal flesh, choosing the ital lifestyle. Ezekiel 48:11, it shall be for the priests that are sanctified of the sons of Zadok, which have kept my charge, which went not astray when the children of Israel went astray as the Levites went astray. Okay, so when you look at these brothers in Jamaica, man, these brothers are keeping that true way, the remnant of that priesthood. Now, by albeit, the sect has been infiltrated over time with the man worship of Haile Selassie. We know we're not getting into that. We just eating the meat and spitting out the bones. We can see how these brothers was over there keeping the ancient true way, right? How they were dealing with herbal sacrifice, right? Burning the herb. You know the Rastas dealing with the herb, you know? You know it. They not dealing, they white and clean, right? Wrapping their heads in turban like the ancient priests, right? And dealing with ital foods, which is natural foods, right? So we're gonna get this right here from Ingram, whatever this is, some site, man, that posts from Instagram. I couldn't find this, man. I was looking for it, man. This was the closest thing I could get. So bear with me. It says the original and true diet of man. The true dietary law is ital, not kosher. All right, so repost. Let me see. I'm gonna get this one right here. It says the rosters of Jamaica. Okay, no, that's the same one I just got. And let me see. So let's just read both of these posts from the brother. They say there's a repost from someone. What's it? Jeremiah 7:21. Right, we got that. It says the Most High raised Jeremiah the prophet and sent him to preach against Israel and tell them that he never told Moses to eat meat, nor did he speak about sacrifices or burnt offerings. This was not his will, but the hardness of Israel wouldn't stop doing it. The King James Version leaves out the last sentence in verse 21. Wonder why? This is pure Aramaic version, which is clear. All right, so check this out. Okay, all right. So you got the sons of Zadok. That verse we had just read that. Dead Sea Scrolls, fragments of Zadok 6:1. The priests are the pendants of Israel who went forth out of the land of Judah, and the Levites are they who joined them. And the sons of Zadok are the elect of Israel called by name that are holding office, right? Holding office in the end of days. Behold the statement. Remember, the ministers, right, holding that office, right, and enforcing the true interpretations of the law of God, man. Okay. So we got that. All right, let's go to this other one over here. It says Rostas of Jamaica. Okay, we got that part, but it's a little different down here. It says instead of scriptures which I always leave, I'll leave secular history on these groups of people whose lifestyle and way of life can still be found amongst the Rostas of Jamaica. They did not shave their heads, faces. They ate no animal flesh, choosing the ital lifestyle, choosing to eat life instead of death. Choosing to eat life instead of death. James, Christ's brother, James, the brother of the Lord, surnamed the Just, was made head of the church at Jerusalem. Many indeed called James. Are called James. This one was holy from his mother's womb. All right, he was probably a Nazarite. He drank neither wine nor strong drink, or ate no flesh. Yes, he was a Nazarite. He was separate. Neither shaved, right? Neither shade. Okay, you can find that in the Nicene, posting the Nicene Fathers, Secular Essene History. The Jewish Encyclopedia of Essenes on page 90. Candidates admit that the Essenes recognize only pure oblation and would not take any part in the bloody sacrifice. All right, check out this quote. It says, while the Pharisees took an active part in the daily Jewish life of the masses, even when the temple worship was controlled by the Sadducees, the Essenes formed a separate sect. The reason seems evident. They deemed themselves the only true Israel, and they regarded the religious observances in the cities and the temples as corrupt. Look at that. In the cities and in the churches as corrupt. They refused, therefore, to participate in them and went into the wilderness of Judea to seek God there. Nevertheless, this refusal was confined to animal sacrifice only, and they did. I'm not sure if that keeps going or not, but what I want to do is see if we can play this video.
Every tree which is the fruit of a tree. Right. So like we sit now like a pea soup with us and we peas in the pot, and once it get tender, we add all the vegetables, the pumpkin, the carrot, we cook with Irish, with string beans, with sweet pepper, everything with corn, with greens, with tomato, with okra. It's a combination of all plant-based food, and all of that cooked into one broth. And when you get that, sometimes we add a little sea salt in moderation, because you know salt is in its high content is not good, but we go to the sea salt to get the natural from that. And we add a little to taste. You know, sometimes we have not to put it, but sometimes when you have to for a congregation and people are accustomed, we meet them party. Yeah. So today, once we enjoy all of that, and then we use a nice coconut milk, you know, to add to all that, and then when we put in the skin.
Alright, so give thanks and praise for that. You know what I'm saying? So closing it out, man, you know, I could come with a lot of videos showing you rosters talking about eating ital and eating natural foods, but that's not, you know, really the main gist of the video. We did a little more with the altar of incense, right? With the burning of the herbs, with herbal sacrifice. So what I want to do, man, I just want to end this video, man, with showing you some of the clips of the Rasta brethren, you know what I'm saying, dealing with their version of the sacred pipe or the chalice, you know what I'm saying, in herbal sacrifice, man. So I want to present y'all with some clips of that and show you the connection and the resemblance from their culture and the Native American culture, right? The drums in the pipes, or the drums in the chalice, the prayer before the burning of the sacred herbs in the sacred pipe or chalice. You know, all those things, the high regard and the respect for the herb and for the burning, and for it not to be a habitual or pleasurable recreational habit, you know what I'm saying, but for the communion and ceremonial use of prayer and service. You know, although a lot of people may get carried away with the culture and they might burn herb and stuff like that for their own personal whatever. You know, we're not getting into that. Just take the meat, eat the meat, spit out the bones. Don't get so caught up on the marijuana thing and stuff like that, but just understand the true customs and the ancient ways that these people are keeping and why they do it, you know what I'm saying, and just catch the resemblance in the culture. So I want to leave y'all with that, man. Peace, love, family. Oh, man, dig into these peace pipes, man. And if you can, make you one or get you one made or something like that, man, and send your prayers up, man. Light up and commune with the Heavenly Father, man, in a natural manner. So without further ado, I want to present some clips that will be coming from this video right here from Rodrigo Ferreira, as well as the Jamaican man smoking ganja bamboo steamroller. A few minutes out of that, few minutes out of this chalice, part 2, smoking the chalice. Then a minute or so out this Untold Stories, Rastafari Liberty part 6 from the elder there. And then last but not least, since we're talking about the Rastas, in the Bobo Shanti, they have a more stricter, more natural sect. They deal with the, you know, the white robes and the white the turban, the wearing of the turbans on the heads, and the eating of ital and the dressing in robes and things like that, and the herbal sacrifice for ceremony and communion. So I'm gonna let the brother end us and take us home with best ways to meditate with ganja and the steam chalice pipe, right? So let's get into it. Again, much love, peace and blessings to you, fam. Shalom.
The whole good and all pleasant it is for I and I, brethren. It's like the sunshine upon the air, and down the air. Even your own here, and bent down to the skirts of the sky. As the judge of our man, the two that say the bones of Zion. For the Lord, God, Jah, Rastafari, man, all these blessings. Life, Jah, Rastafari.
Then I hear the angel with the seven seals saying, Babylon, your throne gone down, gone down. Babylon, your throne gone down.
Go with the drum. The first sound because before an electrical device. Our foreparents used to use that. You know? Send message to one another. You see? Communicate with each other. It's just the drums. Yeah, man. You see? And when I ask my brother to read that song, so, you know.
Nature and glory of the church. His foundation is in the holy mountains. The Lord loveth the gates of Zion more than all the dwellings of Jacob. Glorious things are spoken of thee, O city of God, Selah. I'll make mention of Rahab and Babylon to them that know me. The old Philistine Tyre with Ethiopia, this man was born there. And of Zion it shall be said, this and that man was born in her, and the highest himself shall establish her. The Lord shall count when he writeth people that this man was born there. As well the singers as the players and instruments shall be here. All my friends are in thee.
Jah Rastafari. Jah
Rastafari.
Jah
Rastafari.
Low Street.
Load the fucking chalice, make me pull it like a button. My brain and my weed that organize. If me can't get no weed, brain traumatized. Lungs, paparazzi. If you pass my by, nobody ask my eye. The purple skunk with the purple ears and the white eyes and the mango stain. The grabbite act like a candy flame. My brain tell a boat on a ganja plane. Got me off chalice, make it bubble. Off chalice, make it bubble. Me so fucking high, when me a look, me a see double, double. Off chalice, make it bubble. Off chalice, make it bubble. Me say to only witness, duty walk in a trouble, trouble. Off chalice, make it bubble. Off chalice, make it bubble. Me so fucking high, when me a look, me a see double, double. Off chalice, make it bubble. Off chalice, make it bubble. Say to only witness, duty walk in a trouble, trouble. The smell from the coconut shell with the old smoke I come from my nose. Weeks with the great cover, and it's resembling my favorite cover.
So Bobo gonna bless the chalice. And for the chalice is for some reason, special reason, a spiritual reason. Right? So this is what I'm saying now. Yeah. Glory be unto the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy One of creation. As Jah was in the beginning, so ever shall be, Jah world without end. So hail our God, Selassie, Jehovah God, Justifier, Almighty God. Jah will sit up in Zion and reign in the heart of all flesh. Jah will not suffer foot to be moved. He that keepeth Zion shall not summon nor sever. The Lord Justifier is our keeper. Selassie, I bless. Fire upon the chalice.
Yeah. Africa.
Blaze it again.
Blessed is the Most High Jakarta Rastafari is about to go in front of him to smoke my pipe in peace and safety. Jah guide and protect me all the way. Ganja sweet. Peace and safety. I Jakarta Rastafari is about to go in front of him to smoke my pipe in peace and safety. Jah guide and protect me all the way.
Well, you know this is special, so that's why we do it. And we don't do nothing that's not special.
It's real life.
Yes, my Rasta I.
Yeah, man, you have to bless the chalice. Our Rasta man have to bless the chalice before him smoke it.
No, I really see you use the water.
Yes, my Rasta I.
Yeah, man, you have to bless the chalice. Our Rasta man have to bless the chalice before him smoke it.
You see you use the water.
Yes, my Rasta I.
Yeah, man, you have to bless the chalice. Our Rasta man have to bless the chalice before him smoke it.
No, I really do use water.
Before him smoke it.
No, I really do use water. Give praise
Yeah,
to the Father.
that is the religious part of it.
Why?
Because if you don't bless it, you can't smoke it.
And because herb is the first thing that give man thoughts. Learn your wisdom. So your wisdom could conceive things and it take onto your thoughts, so your tongue would speak it. So in literal, the herb, it is medicine. It explains things for you. You do things for it. It's a spiritual movement and it come all physical.
That's
You
right,
understand me? You use it because, listen what I'm saying now. Why marijuana get the most fight? It's for a reason.
Oh my God, great.
Yeah, man. So we say more fire, light up the chalice again.
Straight.
The last year.
And the marijuana or holy herb is brought out. According to Leonard Barrett, Rastafaris first began using marijuana in reaction to the treatment of blacks in society. It later became a device to enable freedom from this harsh establishment.
So the only thing the Babylon can persecute the Rastaman with, it is the herb. That's why the Rastaman comes with the highest order. Unajua, to use the herb. Babylon can persecute the Rastaman with, it is the herb. That's why the Rastaman comes with the highest order. The only thing the Babylon can persecute the Rastaman with, it is the herb. That's why the Rastaman comes with the highest order. Unajua, to use the herb. We don't use the herb. Unajua, it's a drunk. Herb it's a healing of the nation. So we take it wholer, even we take it in a chalice.
The Rastafari have been at the forefront on the campaign to legalize marijuana. They claim that the herb has countless spiritual and medicinal qualities and argue that governments are morally misguided in criminalizing possession of a naturally occurring weed.
So I use of herb, unajua, is natural and we don't deny it. Unajua, even if unajua who harass I, we are ready even to stand for it.
Instead of being very closed-minded, especially because of the propaganda which has been there regarding the plant, why don't we have some humble and research into the properties of this plant and make it available for the use of man?
They consider it a sacrament and is used both ritually and socially. At gatherings like this, participants smoke ganja in forms of spliffs, extra large cigarettes, or in a chalice.
I will be damned forever.
The act is highly spiritualized that before smoking the herb, a prayer is uttered.
Kila wakati tunaomba I will be damned forever.
The act is highly spiritualized that before smoking the herb, a prayer is uttered.
Kila wakati tunaomba mfalme wa falme, kwa hiki kikombe umetubarikia, hiki kikombe cha uzima, kiwe cha kusafisha roho zetu na hata kufungua macho yetu ndio tuweze kuona tu wema na yale yanayofaa, mfalme wa falme. Rastafari.
The partakers take in the smoke while inhaling the stream from the chalice. Chanting and poetry recitation are a common occurrence. Rastafaris are very specific when it comes to the use of their so-called holy herb.
Just like all our ancient ancestors, African ancestors, the way they used to gather around a pot, with their... It's the same way we are maintaining that anciency, because we cannot let the significance of this be lost upon the generations. A pot, with their ancient ancestors, African ancestors, the way they used to gather around a pot, with their... It's the same way we are maintaining that anciency, because we cannot let the significance of this be lost upon the generations which are coming up.
The chalice often moves from one participant to the other.
Itself is an element. It combines all the elements. It combines water, it combines the air, it combines the fire, it combines the sounds, it combines also the elements. It combines. A chalice itself is an element. It combines all the elements. It combines water, it combines the air, it combines the fire, it combines the sounds, it combines also the earth. So these 5 elements, they are the 5 elements that the Almighty has created. And it's not easy to put water and fire together. It's not easy to put sound and air and wind together. It will take away the sounds. So an element combines all this in harmony through a chalice.
Though not all Rastafaris smoke weed, they take their justification for its use from Genesis chapter 1 and verses 29, which states that, "Behold, I have given unto you every herb-bearing seed, which is upon the face of all the earth, in which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat."
Plant itself has the capability to provide human beings with food, with clothing, with shelter. You see, food, its leaves are very nutritious. Its seeds have the highest natural proteins.
They also cite the book of Psalms 104 verse 14, which states that he causes the grass to grow for the cattle and vegetation for the service of man.
You see,
Rastafari, tell it how we love us, so you must love Jah too. Who trust in his redeeming love and love Jah works to do words and works of salvation. King Emmanuel VII, Adonai God, Jah, Rastafari. Give thanks definitely as we up in Kailash Mountains and we're about to, hold a meditation, and definitely what are we saying is that the best way to actually meditate using what you call the cannabis sativa is to use it via what we refer to as a steam pipe. The steam pipe basically is a pipe whereby the herb is actually, placed within a clay housing, within that clay housing here. This here is what you call a kochi or steamers, but here now, the herb is right down to the bottom, and then there is a gritty which is made of clay, whereby the fire literally would go right over the top of the clay gritty, not actually getting into direct contact with the herb. This here is the coconut pipe, which basically contains a piece of bamboo that goes right through the water, and this around here is breadfruit glue, and this here is the shunk. Principally, it is reflective of our God in three-person Trinity. When it comes to Bobo Shanti, God so wrong you can't get around him. Marcus Garvey, God so tall you can't get over him. King Emmanuel, Charles Edward, and God so short you can't get under him. Emperor Haile Selassie I. Principally, this is the fundamental creational process whereby the Spirit of God, Ptah, was going over the body of water called the Nun or the Naunet in ancient creation, the ancient creation story. And then the Spirit of God, Ptah, entered into the Nun or the Nun, as they would say in the Catholic Church, or the Naunet, and then came out as the created being Ra, the first created being. This is like the genie and the lamp, when Allah, which is also God for the Islam people. Allah is the 8 and the 8, the beginning and the end, the same thing. When Aladdin, rubbed the lamp, what actually comes out is the genie. The genie that actually comes out is the genius that's really inside of you as an individual. So when we talk about the lamp and the genie, it's not a God out of you philosophy. We're talking about the God in flesh, the God inside of you. So when you use the chalice, the lamp, and you rub the lamp, and the genie actually comes out, which is the genius inside of you, the genius in you. The genius inside of you, what you basically have is the best that you have out of you will actually be coming out, whereby you would have the powers to actually create things. You have your free wishes. You could have an infinite number of wishes when you actually make that wish, or you take that draw from the steamers, the steam pipe. Literally, you would actually gain that intelligence, that intellectual capacity, because 80% of the blood would be diverted to your brain. Right? And then you have the olfactory bulb right on top here. That is a direct connection into your cerebral cortex. This would actually get the herb, the THC, tetrahydrocarbonic acid, straight to your brain, straight to your brain. Not enough to really even go to your lungs, as some people would actually have to think. Why? Because when you inhale it, when you inhale and the smoke actually goes through your nose, that actually has direct connection to your brain. That's why you could smell it, because the olfactory bulb literally is a projection of the brain that lies right within the cribriform plate in your skull here. Right? Your skull, frontal lobe, right underneath here, you have the cribriform plate where you have the nerves, the olfactory nerve extension coming out. It's a cranial nerve that so actually when you could smell the herb and say, I smell a herb, high grade, what you're saying really is that the molecules of the herb is already inside of your bloodstream circulating. Definitely, and another very important principle of the chalice also is because your nose don't really have a cooling mechanism, meaning that the herb in its own self, when you burn it through complete combustion, it will be hot. So even with the steamers, let me just keep it warm there. Even if the steamers itself, what you would have the steamers itself, there would be a certain amount of heat. So the water that is within the steam pipe here, if I pull it, you can hear that rolling sound. That rolling sound is because there is water inside it. So this bamboo here goes directly inside of this round coconut here that is filled up with water up to this hole right here. So when you suck into this pipe here, the warm air goes through the water where it actually cools off. Right? Just like in your nose, if you breathe through your nose, what will happen as you breathe in, the heads in your nose and the full vessels, so many vessels up right inside of your nasal cavity would actually cool off the smoke, so it will be the perfect temperature for your physical structure, or warm it up if the needs be. Now, as the smoke goes right through the water, what you'll also be having is that you'll have the water-soluble components of the herb, which is basically would be the tar and these type of things there, the chlorophyll, which is actually burnt and from tar. Anything that you burn is going to form tar anyway. And then the organic compounds that needs some organic solvent to dissolve it, like the THC and the CDB. These things there would actually go right through the water because they are not water-soluble. So what you're getting is the pure essence of the herb. So then what is coming out of the herb, of this steamers here, is not really the smoke, it's basically clouds. Because if you really understand the philosophy whereby an inorganic or an insoluble substance in water is not aqueous, when it goes through the water, a cloud is basically droplets of dust that is actually droplets of dust covered with H2O. So the H2O molecules now would be clinging onto the THC molecules and the CDB molecules because they are not water soluble. So what you'd be having is clouds. Yeah, the H2O and the CDB and the THC coming out of the water, the creational process, as it goes into the nun, the now net, and comes out into the water, and then goes right into your your cavity of your mouth, then goes through the lungs in that incident, go out through the nose, straight into your brain, and also absorb directly into through your alveolus, into your bloodstream, through your lungs. And understand principally, the key thing that you must fully understand is that the perfect way of making your prayers going up into Zion, heaven, as they would say, is that when you breathe in that smoke or the clouds, and you exhale, what will happen principally is that you would have your prayers that when you breathe in, goes inside of you. When you breathe out, your prayers go up to the heaven, from clouds into the sky, and then falls down as blessings. The praises go up and blessings come down. Definitely. As we're going to break this down more eventually, and we give thanks as we resurrect our YouTube channel right up here into Kailash Mountains. Look forward for us, definitely. We'll be in Antigua and this coming April the 15th, Wednesday, at the City View Hotel, where we'll be giving a lecture principally on the overall wellness. Give thanks. I mean, if you have any questions, you could actually question us in our comment section, and you could like it or not like it. That's up to you. We'll still love you, because God is love. Let us all love. For all those who love us, those who don't love us, those who love to hate us, those who love to love us, all love, all is invited. Give thanks to the Black Christ in flesh, Holy Emmanuel, I, Selassie, I, Jah, Rastafari, my Lord and Empress, Prince and Princess. Blessed love. Rastafari, my Lord and Empress, Prince and Princess. Blessed love. I mean, it's a private thing when you actually meditate, so we're going to have a private moment as we go up and we rub the lamp and get the genie out. I don't want you to see when that genie comes out. Definitely, that's our personal business. When the genie comes out and we're going to create, you're going to see that creational process. Make your genie come out and create something in your creational process. Holy John, Marcus I, Selassie I, Jah, Rastafari, honorable, blessed love.
Oh man, so we just want to give all thanks and praise, man. That's going to conclude the video today. Oh man, just wanted to get that in there and show you guys them rosters, man, how they keeping them ancient true customs, how they keeping the ancient priesthood. Some of the ways of Zadok. I know many have went astray, but you can see the remnants of the ancient true priesthood, you know what I'm saying, with the brothers on the island keeping the Rastafari away, even though they fell into man worship and all those things. But you can see, man, how they hold the chalice of the pipe in a sacred manner. They pray before they smoke it. They don't smoke it just for recreational use. They smoke it as ceremonial, and to send them prayers up. So I just want to show those correlations, man. We give all thanks and praise for that, how these brothers are keeping that ancient true way. And we can see in Lebanon how the Most High gave the inhabitants thereof, right, the knowledge of the altar of incense, right, of the herbal sacrifice. So we just want to give all thanks and praise for that. I want to try to leave you guys with a Bible verse as usual, talking about, right, remember in Ezekiel 44 where the Most High said that the sons of Zadok will be the only priesthood that could come and minister unto him, right, in the last days, right. And we know that minister is to perform religious rites, right, or to provide religious services, right, to serve, right. Minister now is a servant. So I just want to get this Bible verse and close it out. So we know that the sons of Zadok are the true righteous ministers of the Most High God, and we know a minister is to provide religious service, right, or a servant who provides that religious service. So here we go to Psalms 104:14, and the Most High tells us what? Through David, he says, he causes the grass to grow for the cattle and the herb for the service of man, that he may bring forth food out of the earth. So I just want to leave y'all with that the herb is for the service of man. So when you're dealing with the priestly duties of sacrifice, and we're dealing with service, we know the true ministers, the true servants who provide the religious service are dealing with the herbal sacrifice of burning the incense for atonement of sin. So I just wanted to bring that verse in 104 that said the herb is for the service of man. Alright, so family, I just want to leave you with that. Show you the peace pipes one more time. So get you a sacred altar, man, and send them prayers up, and pray for redemption and atonement, and that we come back into our land again, into our holy covenant. Shalom, family.